Everybody, Matthew Turner here, Rural the Lions UK. I am just waiting for our guest and for Anthony Fitzpatrick to join me, but I thought I'd start now and just chat with you guys for a bit. I am still looking for a name for the show, so if you have a good Cardinals related pun, that would be great. Otherwise, hope you're all well. As my marker says, thank God it's Friday. Hell yeah. We have the injury report out for the Lions, which is as expected, which is good. And our Discord is blowing up because of something funny, but never mind. Hope you're all well, everybody. Come say hi, get a shout out, like You Lost Oceans, Mile Marker, Hatter's House, and Dan Pask on Twitch as well. Appreciate you all. I have just realised it says hashtag Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the name of the show, which is not ideal. I've probably done that for all the upcoming shows as well, which is slightly frustrating. But that's updated now. I just know that I suck. Grandizer says, hilly ho, lads, hilly ho. Hello, hello, hello. Lost Oceans really hope some of those questionable players play. Yeah, me too. Grandizer with it's not in the cards this weekend. That's much better than my Terminator related pun for James Conner, which can't be good. I didn't even notice Lost Oceans that Davenport was off the report. That is something that completely passed me by. Fair play to the lads. Grandad said, what is a good saying from Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds? I don't know. I'm not sure I've ever seen a Hitchcock film. But if you are a fan of this show, it won't surprise you to know that I haven't watched a film. Mark says, yes, Grant is better. Mine is legal in Michigan. Oh man, losing again a cardinal sin. Very nice. That's more understated, Carlton, but I like that very much. Yes, I'm going for that. I've changed my mind. We've got Tom coming in from Britishburg Gang right now. Hey Brent, hope you're doing well. And Lost Ocean says, did Dan talk to the press today? He has. I think it was very recent. 4 hours ago. Not so recent. Brent says, howdy Brits with grip from across the pond. Yes, we are. And Lost Ocean says, I need to go back and watch it. Yeah, me too. I've been getting the quotes through on Discord, but I've been out hiking until about 20 minutes ago and had to rush to eat to get here on time. Only for Ant to let me down by being not on time, but never mind. What are you guys up to this weekend? Hope you've got some good stuff planned. Dan Pass says that first interception where JMO got illegally contacted, I wonder if that rattled Jared a bit. I mean, getting picked off on your first throw is not exactly ideal, but then he did come back with a play-action pass for 50 yards the very next throw he was on the field, so I'm not sure it rattled him that much. I just think he had a bad day at the office generally, to be honest. Frank the Sank says, what up, UK East Side, Detroit, Michigan? Hey, Frank. Hope you're doing well, my man. Lost Ocean says, my youngest turns 1 this weekend. Oh, my God. Other than that, watching football. I mean, it's at that sort of age it will probably throw a big party and they won't remember a bloody thing about it, right? But there we go. There is not enough rum in this Coke. I'll tell you that. You there, Tom? Not quite yet. Ah, Says, yeah, I'm here. Okay, Tom, I was hanging on for Ant, my other guy, who I obviously delayed this for, as well as you, and he says he'll be here in about 5 minutes' time, so hopefully that's okay. I don't know if you have any issues with camera and microphone, or whether everything's good. It's just that you're not showing yourself until then, or what? Mile Marker says, Lost Oceans, congrats, happy birthday. Lost Oceans said, I hate for the full time 3 kids' birthdays within 5 weeks. Lost Oceans, if you wanted them to not all fall in a similar time frame, I would have suggested abstinence about 9 weeks before their birthdays. That tends to work. Can only say it was your fault. Frank says everybody needs to remember this offense has 800 yards in the last 2 games. The offense hasn't necessarily been the problem in case of like yards and stuff like that. It's just been red zone stuff where they've been woeful, and that's, what's really important. Tom says video not working, but microphone is working fine, so that's cool. And Lost is a good thing I took care of that last year. Ooh, yay. Makes me feel iffy just thinking about that. Tom, I hope you're okay just to hang on for Ant, and that you're not too pressed for time at the end. If you are, and it's a hard out at 10 o'clock, say, then that's absolutely fine. We'll make sure we get in everything that we need to. My Mark says, my 2 older brothers and I have birthdays all the same week. Folks got along once a year, we used to joke. Yeah, I mean, well, there's a reason why the most popular month for birthdays is September. It doesn't take much to think about why. Okay, that's cool, Tom. Awesome. Frank says, put some rum in that drink, bro. I have poured quite a bit in it. I'm not gonna lie. It's more just it's more just that I went for a 2-hour walk, and then I've wolfed down my dinner, and I'm feeling in the need on a Friday to have a little bit more than what I have. But never mind. Bob O'Lan in the chat saying hello from Melbourne, Florida. Hello to you. Lost Ocean says the older 2, 18 days apart, joint parties the last 5 years saves me some money. I mean, kids, man. I say that with no kids, but never mind. I don't know what we're doing this weekend. I've got to go to my parents to look after the place because they're away. I've got to go and water some plants and that sort of thing, even though it's been raining today. And then go for lunch somewhere, which would be nice. And then going to go and see some comedy on Sunday. Going to go to Bristol and see a good comic and have some nice food in town before coming back for the game. Which should be, we're on probably 10 minutes before the start of the game, about 9:15, so we'll watch the majority of the early slate. And then come in here and start the show. Although, I am somewhat tempted to come back and just start streaming as soon as I can through the early slate and just chat about stuff. Carlton says, rebirthdays life tip in UK, try not have kids in August means youngest in school year, almost a year younger than schoolmates. And also, not only are they a year younger than schoolmates, but there are studies which show that those born in August just achieve less generally because of how much they are behind their older schoolmates. So September through January, February, I think, is seen as the best, but September attainment is much higher than August attainment. Frank says, I'm old, I already raised my children. We don't think about birthdays till after 16th. No more birthday parties. Hell yeah. I mean, maybe major ones, surely. 21, 30, 40. No? Mile Markle says, love comedy shows. Have to sit in the back though because I laugh somewhat oddly. They look for me. Can't hear how I laugh, lol. You can't be as bad as Jimmy Carr, surely. And Keitho says, Tuna. Have I inherited that as a nickname now? Oh no. I hate that. Yeah, there we go. That's my name. And Los Angeles says the same thing in the States. All my kids will be the oldest every year for their grade. It's such a big thing. It's so underrated to be the oldest in the year. In terms of social life, studying, bullying, all of that stuff. It's so important. Right, come on, Anthony. Where are you? Okay, I am tempted, since we are at 10 minutes now, and he said about 10 minutes, just to get started and go through the preamble, and then he will join us when he joins us, which shouldn't be too far away, and it allows me to just go through the normal stuff. Tom, I hope that's okay with you that we give it a start now. Okay. I already have this recording, so I've just got to cut it. So I'm going to go silent for about 5 seconds so I can see it on the record and can cut it easily. And then the show will start. Okay, here we go. Welcome to another edition of the Royal Lions UK podcast, episode 291. Losing again would be a cardinal sin. My name's Matthew Turner, about to be joined by Anthony Fitzpatrick and with guest Tom from the British Bird Gang, which is an Arizona Cardinals fan site. Tom, thanks for coming on again, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on again.
So just before we go into stuff, I thought it would be good just to talk about British Bird Gang and what you do. I know that you used to have a podcast way back when, and this is not your first time on the show. So just give us a bit of background about what you guys do.
Yeah, so I mean, we've been going now since 2012, and obviously, it started off small because there's not really that many Arizona Cardinals fans in the UK. Tried to find more, and we've succeeded in that, really. And yeah, we used to have a podcast, but we stopped that last year because, time takes a lot of time to do a podcast and all that kind of thing. So yeah, maybe I'll come back sometime, but for now, I'm just enjoying the games without the need to think about them for a podcast a few days after.
Yeah, I know how you feel on that. It is a massive commitment. So fair play to you for doing it as long as you have. But hopefully it comes back because nothing better than talking ball. Although what a time for you guys to stop doing it the moment that Kyle has come back and been what he is. But more about that in just a moment. Just before we get going, our usual preamble here. So our Discord channel link is in the live chat right now. Guys, if you're not in it, love to have you in there. It's a great place for Lions fans or fans from around the league to be all year round. College Football Podcast was put up online on YouTube yesterday. So if you haven't listened to that, it's Ant and Ryan talking about whatever all of the happenings of last week, and then also the watch picks for this weekend's games in college football. Please don't forget to like this episode, sub to the podcast, all that good stuff, you know what to do, and also support us on Lions Nation Unite. That's Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. And as part of that, was on another show earlier on today with Kurt Steele, so we retweeted that on our Twitter account. If you don't get enough of Anthony Fitzpatrick, then he was on there, and that was also live on X at 8 a.m. Eastern this morning, so you can go and have a look at that there. We are Twitch affiliated, YouTube monetized, and there's a tip jar in the YouTube description, so if you're enjoying what you're listening to and you want to show some love that way, that'd be great, but don't worry about that. If you're here listening, that's more than enough for us. And there is a feedback form down below in the YouTube description as well. So if you've got any suggestions for content or constructive criticism about the show, stuff about, I don't know, lighting or audio or anything like that, then please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. A little bit of news. Not very much this week. I'm just going to double check whether there has been any updates. But the Lions have signed kicker Matthew McCrane to the practice squad, and they've had to do that because the practice squad kicker that they did sign last week, Greg Joseph, who obviously was in pre-season with the Green Bay Packers and formerly of the Minnesota Vikings, has been poached by the New York Giants after Graham Gano's injury last week, which saw him not actually able to play, and then they missed an extra point with the Scottish Hammer trying to kick. He is, of course, the punter. He missed an extra point and they didn't try it again. So Greg Joseph looking like he's probably going to play this weekend, presuming that Gano can't go. And I can only presume that he can't, given what they've done. And it's been confirmed that the Lions are going to wear their new black jerseys for the first time next week against the Seattle Seahawks for Monday Night Football. Just having a look at the rest of the news from the fan sites, but I don't see anything. Oh, Dan Campbell was asked about the personal harassment that he has been suffering because he has been forced to move house. So he has already moved house from where he's been found out, but his address was revealed online somewhere, and he has been inundated with stuff that happened after the San Francisco game for the NFC Conference Championship last year, and that has continued into the season, especially after the Tampa Bay loss last week. So he's put his house up on the market, and they have moved. He declined to comment in the press conference and praised Lions fans in it. That is per the article on Pride of Detroit written by Jeremy Reisman. I urge you to go and read that because we want to be good fans who don't harass our awesome head coach. That would be good. All right, that's all of the news. So we're going to get into the Cardinals preview. And as we're only 2 games in, I will reference a little bit of last year's record as well. So last year they went 4-13. They were 4th in the NFC West. That of course meant they had the 4th overall pick in the draft. And this season they are 1-1 so far. Week 1 was a 34-20 loss at Buffalo, but they recovered very, very well with a 41-10 win versus the LA Rams. The betting for this game, Detroit are 6-4 on. That is -150. Arizona are 5-4. That's +125. Detroit then are 3 points favourites on the spread with an over and under 52, I should say. In terms of the injury report, that is out for the Lions, and Ifeatu Melifonwu and Ennis Rakestraw are confirmed out. And then Alex Anzalone, Terrion Arnold, Graham Glasgow, and Isaiah Williams are questionable. It does mean that Marcus Davenport is not on there, which is good news for him. For Arizona, I haven't seen any massive update today, but it's not an especially long list. The worrying thing for them especially is that Kelvin Beachum, the tackle, who is actually in relief already of the new shiny right tackle, Jonah Williams, he did not practice today and he was limited yesterday, and the Cardinals do not have a backup tackle on their active roster. It means that they'll be having to elevate someone from the practice squad if he can't go. As Anthony Fitzpatrick is now here. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good, thanks. Sorry, I was a little tardy to the party today. I've done an hour of 7-a-side, and Daddy needed a pint afterwards. So yeah, I'm good now. I'm getting old, so need some refreshment after I'm done.
Oh, yay. You had to say it like that, though, didn't you? My word. Tom is here as well, just hasn't got his camera on because it doesn't work. So, but he is here, just in case. So let me go through.
Unfortunately, my camera does work, so you have to see my ugly mug. So yeah.
Come on, don't be like that. Let's. Oh, that's a very nice jacket you've got there, by the way.
Yeah, I can't. This is when did I get this? This is when we bought all the stuff off Fanatics, like the last time. I got oh God, what did I get? I think I got a t-shirt. I got this, and I got my Stafford jersey. This was before we started the podcast. This is a long time ago. This was, you remember when we used to join order off that guy on Facebook?
Yeah.
That was my order for that. So this has passed through your house, so
oh, okay. Fair enough.
I've literally just got in, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to get straight on. I'll just be in my football attire. So got this over because it's getting brisk now. The autumn's starting to set in. I love it. It's getting cold. All that pesky sun's going away.
Tom, we'll get into this season so far in just a minute, but you guys were 4-13 last year. Obviously, Kyler Murray was out for I think the entire season. You had a new head coach, I think, for that year as well. And actually, I think for it being not the best season in the world, considering you didn't have your starting quarterback and you had a new head coach, am I wrong to think that you were kind of exactly where you were expected to be with maybe some positive signs going into this season?
Yeah. I mean, like, obviously, you can't really celebrate winning 4 games, can you? But there was plenty of positives to take from the team last year, and obviously we expected them to be terrible, and obviously without Kyler Murray, that's obviously going to hamper the team because we had like backups in at quarterback. We had like Clayton Tune, we had Joshua Dobbs, it just wasn't great to watch. But now Kyler's back. He's starting to look like the sort of player everyone thinks he should have been.
Yeah, absolutely. You started this season with a bang, and we're going to get into that. I watched the Rams game specifically, and we'll reference that in just a second. But the overall stats for the team so far in fact, no, I didn't even finish looking at the people out. So Jonah Williams, I mentioned, is on IR, as is rookie defensive tackle Darius Robinson, who, of course, was heavily linked with the Lions in the draft process, and defensive end BJ Ojolari. And the wide receiver Zay Jones is suspended. The team is 8th overall in PFF grade so far this season, 3rd on offense and 23rd on defense. By DVOA, that's 7th overall, 5th on offense, and 15th on defense. Just going through their depth chart, of course, as we've mentioned, the quarterback is Kyler Murray, backed up by Clayton Tune. Running backs, James Conner and the rookie Trey Benson. Amari DeMarcado and DJ Dallas. At wide receiver, we have Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison, and Greg Dortch, backed up by Chris Moore, Zach Pascal, and Xavier Weaver. We also have at tight end Trey McBride, Elijah Higgins, Tip Ryman, the rookie, and Travis Vokolek. And then the offensive line, Paris Johnson at left tackle, Evan Brown, former Lion, at left guard, Hjalte Froholt at centre, Will Hernandez at right guard, and then, if he goes, Kelvin Beachum at right tackle. They're backed up by Isaiah Adams, the rookie, John Gaines the second, and Tristan Colon. And then on defense, they play a 3-4 base defense. The 3 down linemen are Justin Jones, Rory Lopez, and Billy Al Nichols, backed up by Dante Stills, Kyrese Tonga, and LJ Collier. The 4 linebackers or outside linebackers, are Zaven Collins, who's reinvented himself as an edge rusher, and Dennis Gardeck. Inside linebackers, Kaiser White and Matt Wilson Sr. They're all backed up by Xavier Thomas, Chris Barnes, Owen Papo, Victor Dimukice, I'll say, Jesse Lucetta, and the returning line, Julian Aquara, who managed to play, I think, 1 snap last week and get a flag. So good on you, Julian. Well done. And then the cornerbacks are Sean Murphy-Bunting and Starling Thomas, with Garrett Wilson in the nickel when they play nickel, backed up by Kytrell Clark, Max Melton, the rookie, and Darren Hall. Safeties are... and... did I miss one? No. And then safeties of Jalen Thompson and Buda Baker, the amazing, amazing safety. He is backed up by Joey Blount and the rookie Dadron Taylor Demerson. Special teams, the kicker is former Lion Matt Prater, who's continued to be the person he has always been. And the punter is Blake Gillikin, and the long snapper Aaron Brewer. And to come to you first, what comes to mind when you have a look at that depth chart for the Arizona Cardinals?
It's young after they're starting 22. Obviously, you've got a few injuries in there, which doesn't help. But there's some really good players in there. Like, it all starts with Kyler. I've loved Kyler ever since he got drafted back in college. He's the perfect quarterback. I love him, even his diminutive stature. But I'm glad he's back and playing well. But thankfully, we've always seemed to be pretty good again. He's like the one exception to the mobile quarterback rule that we've just always seemed to have the Cards number. But he's great. He looks in the form of his life at the moment. And then he's got a couple of young, powerful weapons on there. Like, you saw Marvin Harrison have his breakout last week. Like I said, since the draft, he's going to be a top 3 receiver in the NFL by the end of his second year, probably before the end of his second year. He's just that damn good. Obviously, Trey McBride's in there as well. He's coming along really well. It's a really nice tight end room they've got. The offensive line, so that has some reason for doubt there. Obviously, Paris Johnson's still bedding in. It's his second year now. What is it? Evan Brown. Love Evan for the work he's done here, but there are opportunities to be had against them there, and especially if there's going to be a gap at right tackle as well. We saw what Aiden did last week, so I think there's still a little bit of work in progress there. They've got a few guys behind, but obviously they've just been really decimated by injuries, which is just not good. And then you go on to the defense, and look what they did to the Rams that we couldn't do. I know, again, they've had quite a few injuries in that, but they were just really ruthless in what they did. They stopped them running the ball, which meant Stafford had to throw it, and they just kind of went and killed him. So, you look at the talent round there again, a lot of first, second year guys in there. It's young, but it's got a nice sort of blend of experience in there as well. A lot of players in there I really like. Max Melton's in there, like loved him for age. Garrett Williams when he come out, he's really good. Papo, Stills, like these are a lot of guys who've come out the last couple of drafts who they're going to be really good players. Obviously, they're coming up against a different level of offense with us, but I think it's a work in progress. This Cardinals team, right? They got some really good players there. They just need to round out that roster. They're still waiting for the young parts to develop, and there's still a few areas they need to attack. But they're a tough team, and we've just seen how tough they are this weekend when their quarterback's going. They are such a nasty team. So I know there's no Watt there anymore, but that doesn't mean they're any less dangerous. We saw what the Rams were like without the Donald. Young, hungry, ready to make plays, coming off a big win over a divisional rival, which is it was their first in 7 games. First time they've won in 7 NFC West games. It's been a long time. So yeah, it's a good roster with some good young players.
It is a good young roster, and actually, Tom, Aaron Glenn, our defensive coordinator, when asked about your team, said that it reminded him of the Lions about 18 months ago when they really started to make their turnaround. He said that they were, quote, a gritty team. Do you agree with that sort of assessment? How do you feel overall about the team right now?
I mean, yeah, it's obviously a young and inexperienced team in a lot of positions, and we're not exactly going to be Super Bowl contenders this year. If we are, it's going to be some kind of miracle. But there's holes still to be filled. But I think with the way the GM has done the past 2 drafts, he's brought in some really good players. Next year, we're going to have a load of cap to spend as well. So hopefully next year we can put on like a real push towards the playoffs. But I mean, it is a possibility this year, really, if we obviously play like we did last week against the Rams. It was good, to actually beat them for once because, I was sick of always losing to them, especially in Arizona. Still can't forgive them for what happened in Twickenham as well. Just nice to get one over Sean McVay for once.
Yeah, I know exactly how you feel on that point. I think a lot of Lions fans do, especially given our run against them recently. And I think it's going to be interesting for that number 7 seed, especially in the NFC, because I think I can probably pick out 5 or 6 playoff teams. But that number 7 spot, I think Chicago fans were hoping it would be them, and look how awful they've been so far. I don't think Minnesota Vikings fans thought it could be them, but they're looking like a surprise package. But the NFC South is full of a load of rubbish. The NFC East is maybe worse than expected. In the North, it's not fantastic. And in the West, I mean, San Francisco look a bit shaky. The Rams are obviously not good. Seattle have been worse than expected so far. So, I mean, the door's ajar for a team to kind of steal in there. And you guys have started pretty hot.
Yeah, I mean, obviously losing to the Bills in the first week wasn't great, but we were actually pretty close to winning that one. Just a couple of things, if they'd gone our way instead, we could have been 2-0 coming into this game. And, didn't really need to say much more about last week. It was just great to see. And hopefully, we can do that against a few more teams. I'd like to see us beat San Francisco that bad. And maybe Seattle as well, just to get one over the rest of the division.
Yeah, that would be crazy if you guys could get tiebreakers over the rest of your division, because it kind of feels like to me that extra team is coming out of the West somewhere, somehow, and it might be down to, say, you and the Seahawks, or, I mean, maybe even you and the 49ers, because I just don't think they look that good right now. But anyway, let's go back into the rest of this team just to go through some of the PFF grades and the changes that you guys have undergone in this off-season. So Kyler Murray is the quarterback so far this season. 38 of 52, that's 73% completion rate for 428 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, passer rating of 122.9, and a QBR of 91.3. He's also got 10 rushes for 116 yards, which is a crazy number. PFF grade of 93.2. James Conner's the lead back at running back, 37 carries for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's 4.6 yards per attempt. And also 4 of 5 for 35 in the air. PFF grade of 67.7 for him. Leading receiver so far is Marvin Harrison Jr., the rookie. 5 receptions on 11 targets, 134 yards at 26.8 yards per reception. And 2 touchdowns, PFF grade of 70.8 for him. But really a chalk and cheese performance between week 1 and week 2 for him, where he was absolutely unguardable last week. Other good grades in there: Paris Johnson, the tackle, at 78.4, Trey McBride, the tight end, at 75.6, and Evan Brown, the guard, former Lion, 74.4. No bad grades on offense so far this season amongst the starters. In terms of additions and losses so far this year, draftees were at 4th overall, Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver out of Ohio State. At 66 in the 3rd round, running back Trey Benson from FSU. At 71 in the same round, offensive lineman Isaiah Adams from Illinois. Also from Illinois, 82, still in the 3rd round, tight end Tip Ryman from Illinois, who was mine and Ash's draft crush at that position. 5th round, 162 overall, was the offensive lineman Christian Jones from Texas. And in round 6 at 191, the wide receiver Tejuan Palmer from Alabama of Birmingham. Free agency gains. We had Williams, the right tackle, who's now on IR, 2 years, $30 million was paid. Running back DJ Dallas, 3 years, $8.25 million. Evan Brown, guard, 1 year, $2.35 million. And Zay Jones, wide receiver, 1 year, $2.25 million. In terms of losses, they have lost Marquise Brown, the wide receiver, to Kansas City. And the left tackle, DJ Humphreys, is still on the market as it stands. In terms of 3rd down, they are 1st in the NFL so far this season with 14 of 24. They haven't had a 4th down completion yet. And in the red zone, 62.5% touchdown rate, which is 6th in the NFL. I will shut up now. And this offense has really come out firing. I mean, the Rams game, as you rightly said, the defense did the work to shut the Rams down, but the offense couldn't stop scoring. I mean, I think that Murray was benched pretty early on in the 4th quarter, and they were going full prevent defense before the end of the 3rd.
Yeah, it kind of got down to the fact that they were able to run the ball really well. James Conner got a lot of yards on the day. Kind of just really opens up the playbook for them. When you're getting 5, 6, 7 yards a carry like he is, when you've got a quarterback like Kyler Murray, it kind of just opens everything up for you, because you can use his legs to get conversions if you want. You can open up the playbook, pass downfield, pass short. It's just a nightmare to defend against, and that was one thing the Bills did better. Maybe why the Bills won the game against them is they were able to stop them running the football as well, so they were able to keep the points tally down a bit. When you've got to get Kyler firing it out a bit more, there were a lot of quick completions. Like he had a ton of completions to his tight ends, etc. You have to get it out a bit quicker, so it's balanced when it wants to be, and it's at its most dangerous when Connor's able to sort of take control of it. So you've got to be very careful here, that you keep that run game in check. Thankfully, we are able to, which bodes well for us if we can. Like I say, we've always managed to play them really well. Like James Conner, when he's played us in the past, has really struggled to get yards on us. Which is uncharacteristic because he's a very good running back. He's been in the league forever now. But they're adding these bona fide playmakers in. You've got a game changer now in Marvin Harrison Jr. He's a game changer. Saw it the other day. Just these big ass plays downfield where you can throw it down there. He's going to go up, get it, make guys miss, just do something special. And he's incredibly gifted. And like I say, you've got some good playmakers around him. You've got some good depth around them there. And say the quarterback's playing some of his best football in a long time. So it's about trying to disrupt their rhythm. Once they get in rhythm, they're incredibly hard to stop. If you can interrupt that run game, if you can force them back a little bit, that's where you can get the vulnerability. So, but yeah, they've got to be respected for sure. They always have been. Like they're always a team who can hurt you fast. They can score on you quick. So yeah, we're going to have to be at our best against these.
Tom, do you agree with that? Because I think the most notable thing about the Rams game, not only with the Conner yards, but the amount of holes that were being created by your offensive line for him to run through was pretty striking.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, people always seem to like say our offensive line isn't that great, but when you break it down and you see like how they're playing through the games, making the holes for the running backs to go through, it's like the stats just don't lie, really. Like they're playing really well, the offensive line are, and hopefully they'll need to be at the best, trying to defend against Aiden Hutchinson and the like this week. Also to like you've been saying, open up the holes against your tough defensive line. But if they can do that, then you know maybe we'll get the win here. But it's going to be a really good game between the two of us.
I think so too. I think it's going to be an absolute barnstormer. I think there's going to be plenty of, well, just well-matched teamwork going on here. So, but in that Rams game especially, I watched it earlier today, and I think it was maybe the second play of offense on the game. The amount of, I don't think James Conner was touched 4 or 5 yards deep, just going through the center of their defensive line. And for all the Rams injuries, they're just missing Aaron Donald. And I say just, but I mean, you have a look at their offensive line, they're missing like 3 people. But the Rams really suffered in this game and were put on the back foot really early. So that was super impressive. It all starts, of course, with Kyler Murray, as Ant said as well. And I don't know, did you come into this with any trepidation whatsoever about the season? Because he spent a year out, and we've seen what having a year out can do to a quarterback. They can be rusty, they might not hit the ground running, it might take them half a season to kind of get back into the swing of things. But he has been electric with his feet as always. He's been escaping pressure. The throws are on time, they're quick, he's making good reads. This is, I mean, for me, about as much as you could ask for from him at the moment. He must be leading the MVP race for me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, he played a few games at the end of last season when there really wasn't anything to play for. But, it was good to get him back on the field after the injury he suffered. And, he's put in a lot of work in this offseason, working with the receivers, the rest of the team, trying to get everything going. So, like, even though he didn't play in preseason at all, he was ready to come out week one as he should be. And, obviously we didn't get the win, but his performance in week one was great. His performance last week against the Rams was just ridiculous. Like, it was just vintage Kyler Murray. Like, he was using his legs to, like, run down the field, escape pressure. There was probably like 3, 4, maybe 5 highlight plays just from him alone in that game. It was just ridiculous to watch. The most fun I've had watching the Cardinals game in like years, probably.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It was quite satisfying to watch as a neutral, just to see someone, especially a team that hasn't done so well in recent years, completely obliterate a playoff team from last year. It was quite something. The other thing I just wanted to mention is Paris Johnson, because he had a fantastic game last week. He was getting a load of press up front, but I think I've underrated quite how mobile he is as a tackle. He pulls really quickly. There was one play especially where he was blocking safeties down the field for James Conner. I think he just got tackled before he managed to get to the end zone, but he was like 10, 15 yards upfield with James Conner following him as a battering ram. It was quite something. How do you feel about him at the moment?
Yeah, well, I mean, last year he played at right tackle as a rookie, and he had a really good rookie season for us. This year he's moved over to left tackle with DJ Humphries cut, and I mean, he's had a couple of issues in the Bills game. I think he got beat a couple of times, but against the Rams, I don't think he really put a foot wrong. Like, he's had no penalties called against him, I don't think. And last year, as a rookie, I think he had a few of them. So it's good that he's taken them out of his game. And like you said, he's like really athletic for a big man, and he's a really good blocker in the run game, and also good at keeping Kyler upright for most of the time. So yeah, great to see him play really well.
Mm.
We just need someone as reliable on the right hand side, but unfortunately, we haven't got that.
Not yet. Give it one more off season and perhaps he'll come. Let's turn our attention towards the defense. The leading statistical players are linebacker Kaiser White. He's a leading tackler with 18. He's got 7 solo tackles, 1 tackle for loss, a quarterback hit, but a PFF grade of 28.4. Safety Buda Baker is leading as well with tackles, but also with TFLs, and of course, it's just an absolute baller. Pass defended, 18 tackles, 12 solo, 3 tackles for loss, PFF grade of 67.3. No, not leading tackles for loss. I just put him on there because he's a leading DB. And the outside linebacker, Dennis Gardeck, is the guy who's shot off. He had a great game last week with 2 sacks and a forced fumble, I think, which includes a season of a forced fumble and 3 sacks, 6 tackles, 6 solo, 4 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits, and a PFF grade of 79.3. The other good grades in there, linebacker Mac Wilson Sr. 77, defensive tackle Roy Lopez 75, outside linebacker Zaven Collins 72, but some worse grades in there. The free agent signing defensive tackle Justin Jones for 50, safety Jalen Thompson 45, defensive end LJ Collier 44, and defensive end Xavier Thomas 37. In terms of comings and goings, we have in the draft at 27 overall Darius Robinson from Missouri, at 43 overall from Rutgers the corner Max Melton, then the defensive back at 90 overall Elijah Jones, from Boston College. Round 4, 104th overall, Dadrian Taylor Demerson, a DB from Texas Tech. Round 5 at 138 overall, Xavier Thomas, defensive end from Clemson. And then at 226 overall in the 7th round, the DB Jaden Davis from Miami of Florida. For free agency, mentioned Justin Jones already, defensive tackle, came 3 years, 31 million. Corner Sean Murphy Bunting, 3 years, 25.5. Defensive end Billy Al Nichols, 3 years, 21. And linebacker Mac Wilson Sr., 3 years, 12.75 million, with no significant free agent losses. Third down, they are third in the NFL. 5 conversions allowed on 20 attempts. On fourth down, they're 14th with 3 of 5. And in the red zone, they've allowed 5 touchdowns on 9 trips. That is 22nd. Tom, I'm going to come to you first because I think this defense has had a good start against the Bills that kind of faded quickly, and then against the Rams you just totally obliterated them. So there's some worse grades in there, but maybe the sample size hasn't really allowed them to kind of get those grades up, when really, when you have a look at the recent history last week, they were fantastic, and Gardeck especially looked like he was on fire.
Yeah, I mean, Dennis Gardeck's not going to be one of those household names when it comes to rushing the passer. Like, he's not going to be like a TJ Watt or a Myles Garrett or someone like that. He's just one of those players who, whenever he's on the field, he always seems to give 100%. And I mean, last week was good with 3 sacks, forced fumble. But, you know, he's not going to do that every single week, which is a shame. But then again, we've not really got anyone in that outside linebacker group who would be able to do that every week. You know, there's just like a combined effort from everyone. We just need an elite pass rusher, I think. But obviously they don't just grow on trees. We have to get lucky and draft one of them.
And what comes to mind when you have a look at that defense and what they've done in the off-season? Because Darius Robinson, I think, really split opinion. Obviously, he's on IR at the moment, but everyone liked Max Melton. They took him, and, you know, they've made some bigger signings, especially Billy Al Nichols and Justin Jones, to kind of shore up that defensive line. They really play hard.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. We can tell that. Oh, sorry.
No, sorry, go on.
No, I'll let you speak.
Oh, sorry. No, it's fine. So yeah, you look at who they drafted. They've really gone hard on the run defense this year, especially when you look at the corners. You're taking secondary guys who are renowned for their run defense. Max Melton was at Rutgers. You think of all the rushing attacks you have to come up against in the Big Ten. Dalian Taylor Demerson was at Texas Tech. Elijah Jones, I love him, from Boston College, but these are very tough physical guys, and you look at the guys they've already got on there. Buda Baker's a menace against the run. They really come to play. They will bring pressure. They will stack the box, and they will try and stop you running the ball. And you've seen both the Bills and the Rams haven't been able to run on them this year. I think Cook was going at 3 yards per carry. You know, Kyron and Corum were going at less than 3 yards a carry. You know, these guys are really physical. This D line, while I don't think much of it as a pass rushing unit, is really damn good at setting the edge, at stuff in the middle. And if you do try run outside the tackles, you've got these big physical guys who are going to come up and stop teams dead in their tracks, and then it puts them off the game. The Bills were able to overcome it, but they've got one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Rams just didn't really have an offensive line to be able to deal with it. But if you cut that off, you know, you're resorting to putting the quarterback in bad situations. You can go and get him, makes the game a lot easier, kind of circumnavigates maybe some of the weaknesses you've got. But it's a tough unit, and we like to run the football. We saw against the Bucks, we love to throw screens. We don't like to really hit it deep downfield, or we can't really hit it deep downfield, one or the other. And you know that this is not the type of defense you really want to play against. You don't want to be docile against these guys because they will hurt you and they will put us in positions where we are uncomfortable, what the Bucks did against us. So like I like what they've done. I like the rebuilding of this secondary. The three guys who are going to be cornerstones for a very long time there amongst some very good vets. The front seven, I'm not as convinced by. Like I say, I would fancy our offensive line to be able to bat them away without much ado in this one and be able to give Goff time to throw it. Whether we can run it through and remains to be seen, but at least we're going to have a chance to throw the ball. So like they've had some good drafts here, and they're building this thing from the. But obviously, they're replacing a lot of senior guys on this team, so it's a work in progress. And you've seen its vulnerabilities so far, but you've seen what it can do when it, you know, gets you in its wheelhouse. So you need to stay out of there. But I like the draft, but there are some areas I think we can have a go at here. I'm not unduly concerned by that D line when it comes to sacking Goff.
All right, let's move on to the matchup specific stuff. Then we've talked about the Cardinals. We know what the Lions are looking like and how they did last week. I mean, for all the good they did on defense, that they struggled and threw into pressure and, you know, really struggled in that regard. So let's talk about the trenches first of all. And Tom, Lions' offensive line is well vaunted. Came into the season maybe with the top ranked offensive line, but struggled last week. Gave a lot of pressure up on the interior. Now, you have a look at Vita Vea and say maybe that was obvious. So looking at this matchup, and Ant's thinking that we can perhaps pass protect against it pretty well, but maybe not as good in terms of running the ball. How do you think that battle's going to go?
Yeah, I mean, I can see that being the case. You know, they're not, again, the defensive line that we've got isn't exactly an elite unit. You know, it's just a few guys he paid a lot of money to come and do a job. And, you know, they'll just be solid but unspectacular, I think. So anytime a really good unit like the Detroit offensive line comes up against them, you know, I think, you know, we just won't be that good. I think we'll see a lot of runs for Detroit, and maybe that'll allow them to control the clock and come out with this game with a win. You know, and like you say, get into Jared Goff. I don't know if this will be one of those games where Gardeck will get 3 sacks. You know, he might get 1 tackle. And other than that, Zaven Collins, I don't think he'll do much either. So it's got to be a long day for our defense if they can't produce.
But one thing that I've seen change from last year to this is that last year you didn't blitz as much, and so far this season, I know we're only 2 games in, but you have blitzed a heck of a lot more. Do you think that that is something that we're going to see continue into this game, or do you think it was matchup specific against who you've faced so far? Because, I mean, one of the beautiful things I saw last week was he brought double A gap pressure with both inside linebackers, and then they stunted outside each other, and it gave the Rams a huge amount of problems. Do you think that, you know, maybe, I don't know whether to say in fear of the offensive line, because I don't buy that given what the Lions did last week, but that you might try and jazz it up a little bit to try and create some pressure that way?
I think we'll have to try and create pressure somehow because, like, we haven't got the talent on the defensive unit to actually do that on a consistent basis. You know, we haven't got an Aiden Hutchinson on our team to, you know, get 3 sacks in a quarter. So, yeah, we'll see a lot of things with the defense. And, you know, hopefully some of them will work because otherwise it's going to be a long day.
And I'll turn it over to you now to look at the other side. So our defensive line against their offensive line. I hear what you're saying about the offensive line, but I mean they handed the ass of the Rams defensive line to them, and that defensive line unit was pretty good against us. They got after us a bit, so they're not no hopers, and they weren't really suffering with injuries. So they kind of showed up a little bit, but our defensive line, buoyed by Levi Onwuzurike really coming to play, and obviously Hutch doing what he does. I mean, Aleem maybe has been a little bit of the quiet one, and he's still had success. And now Davenport's going to be back from this game. How do you see that particular battle going?
I mean, for us, I'd be looking at this as a big positive. I mean, you say, you do well against the Rams D line, which is great, but when you've got 15 minutes more time of possession, you gas these young guys out. And these guys are coming off a game against us where they've been absolutely pounded into the ground. Like, it's not like they're fit and fresh and ready to go. They don't have a ton of depth there. I look at this and, with Hutch. You've got a game changer right there. You've now got Reader fit and playing, Aleem in the middle. You've got options on the edge with Levi's got 8 pressures, 2 sacks this year already. Davenport, yay, is going to be back, but he's going to be the starting guy out there. We have depth on the D line to be able to keep these guys fresh and going. And what they don't have is depth on their offensive line to be able to withstand it all the time. You're going to be able to crease up the middle. Our run defense is great. I would back them against any single unit in this league. We've put to the sword far better run offenses than this. So you keep it stout in the middle. Linebackers have been playing really well. You bring a lot of pressure off the edge. Like the Cardinals use a lot of 3 tight end looks. We're going to need to be aggressive in this, but we're going to need that interior to start creating pressure as well. I think they can do. They're not coming up against the creme de la creme of the league right here. So for us, trench warfare is what we're all about. And in recent years, especially when we played the Cardinals, we've dominated both lines of scrimmage every time, even when this team was bad. So we're fully healthy as far as that defensive line goes. Everybody's playing. So I would fancy us to do really well here. And the most dangerous aspect of all this, they're coming off a loss. We've not lost 2 consecutive games in
two seasons.
You're probably going about 2 full calendar years now, because this team, when they get hit, they respond, they get angry, and they'll take it out on the next guy. And I fully expect them to come out and just, be out for blood at this point. But we're fully healthy, and I will back them against anyone. If they can't run the ball, then we're free to go and send everything we have going to cause pressure in the backfield. And I think we will. Because again, even us with our problems with mobile quarterbacks have always sussed Kyler Murray out, and we've always played well against James Conner. So, I have full trust in this defensive line to really bring this game forward for us. Again, there's not many O-lines in this league I wouldn't have confidence against that they can't go and do a really good job on them.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to the passing attacks. And first off, going to talk about Arizona's wide receivers and quarterback against the Lions' defensive backs. Tom, you guys, especially last week, really kind of came alive. And Marvin Harrison Jr. had himself a day with some really big touchdowns. But Michael Wilson showed last year what a damn good player he can be. And he's made a few good catches too. But Greg Dortch as well has been fantastic. And then you've got people like Zach Pascal, who are, not no one back there as backup. And of course, Trey McBride is a fantastic tight end that got a lot of people believing he might be one of the better ones in this league for years to come. And Kyler has been showing off that arm. I mean, he had a play action pass to, I think it was Trey McBride, into double coverage off play action that was just a beautiful feather touch. But when it comes to the deep ball, he can fire it in there with pinpoint accuracy. I mean, it kind of feels like the world's your oyster in the passing attack, and it's against the Lions defense that has retooled a lot, getting new players in Carlton Davis, Terry and Arnold, that sort of thing, but they've not quite been firing on all cylinders yet. This feels like a well-matched battle here.
Yeah, I mean, it will be if Kyler has time to actually throw the ball. That'll be the big problem, I think. If we can actually keep him upright. I mean, obviously, he can run around a bit and hopefully tire the likes of Hutchinson out, but Yeah, if he gets to throw the ball downfield, I think we'll have some success there. But it's just keeping your pass rush quiet. Like, I don't know if they'll be able to do that on a consistent basis.
But of course, we know that the Lions do suffer with running quarterbacks as well. I know Ant has said that we've always managed to keep Kyler in check, but those have been other days, and they don't happen to be this Sunday. So I have my doubts with that. And I'm going to come over to you to speak about the other side of the ball, the Lions wide receivers and quarterback against the Cardinals DBs. I mean, in Buda Baker, they've got one of the best in the league at his position. Sean Murphy-Bunting's a high-priced free agent. He's been above average starting cornerback for a long time in this league. But then that's met with having people like Max Melton as a rookie, and he's still a rookie, but he's a damn good player. But they're playing Starling Thomas a lot, who of course Lions fans will remember very, very well. They've got Jalen Thompson back there, who hasn't had the best starts of the season, but he's still a good player. Garrett Williams, Dadrian Taylor-Demison. With Buda Baker and Sean Murphy-Bunting back there, it's not a young unit, generally speaking, and there might be some difficulty putting the ball in the air for the Lions, especially since a lot of Goff's issues have been throwing the ball to safeties.
See, the big problem here is, again, they draft a certain type of player. They draft man coverage cornerbacks who make it very difficult to be able to throw out. Like Garrett Williams was great at man coverage in his Syracuse days. Elijah Jones come from a system at Boston College where that's just what they teach. They are sticky as anything. And, we've had problems against these kind of guys in the past. And I would just quickly say on the flip side, if Aaron Glenn doesn't stop playing zone coverage, I'm gonna can go mental. Like we play entirely the wrong way against DBs. I still hate him for it. We're not equipped to play it. The players are not equipped to play it. They're not good enough. We need to switch, especially with Marvin Harrison Jr. We got to play man against him, and we got to put them under pressure because we can't keep giving guys free throws and just quick on that. But for us, we're going to have to be very careful here. We're going to have to be very savvy with how we go about this. We're going to have to target those linebackers and try and take advantage of them because, again, going downfield, we don't offer that much, and teams don't respect us to offer that much. Like we've seen passes to Jameson these first few weeks, but we immediately go back to type. We go back to running between the tackles. We throw a screen. We don't put a defense on the back long enough to be able to open it up for our bread and butter to work here. So we've got to do something this week where we stretch the field a little bit. There are some young guys here, especially in the corner room. Butter's going to sit there and he's going to provide great coverage for them, but you're going to have to really target these guys, move the sticks downfield, have to force them to bring more players out of the box to help out. Otherwise, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. I mean, I fancy if we can get the guys open in the middle, if we can get Laporta going, Amon-Ra going, all these guys, we're going to have a lot of success. But I would be putting a bullseye on those linebackers and saying that's where it starts. Start getting on them, start bringing these guys up, start getting one-on-ones, and then unleash JMO with what he's good at. Because for us, people act like it's so easy. Let's just run the ball. Let's just be the light. It doesn't work that way. Like, teams do not respect us that way anymore. We have to open up the pass to open up the run to be able to play how we want to play football. And great offenses, I'm sorry, but Ben has kind of been getting figured out recently with this. We can't just play our way anymore. The great teams adapt, and we need to start taking more shots downfield here. So we've got to play the mismatches in this one. And that's our slot guys on their linebackers going crazy on them and then opening the one-on-ones up with JMO. Otherwise, we're going to struggle. If we're third and long and we're having to throw on these guys, we're gonna give up turnovers. The secondary is what I fear on that team, despite it being young. I don't really care about their D-line or their linebackers. The secondary's where it's at. So we've got to be clever about this. We've got to tactically outthink them. Otherwise, we're going to be in bother.
Tom, I have a question from the chat that I just want to put to you before we talk about a score prediction. So from mile marker 301, question for Tom. Do the Cardinals count on the heat down there to assist them when they play northern teams? Just curious if that comes into the game plans. And just as a bit of context there, the temperature in Glendale, Arizona at the time of the kick is going to be about 97 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 36 degrees Celsius for the Brits in the room. Tom, is that a big advantage for you guys, do you think?
Playing in the heat.
Hmm.
I think so, because like anytime we ever have like a 6 p.m. game over on the East Coast, it takes them a while to get going. And obviously it's a bit cooler over that side of the America. So I don't know. It's a strange question, but obviously I think you prefer playing at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that people in Michigan may suffer in the heat slightly, but hey, I mean, these guys come from all over the country, so it's only going to be the natives that potentially suffer. Anyway, let's move on to score predictions, and Tom, I'm going to give you the honour to start off first. So, just briefly, what are your keys to victory for the Cardinals, and then what do you think is actually going to happen?
Okay, so I think keys to the Cardinals to actually get a win in this one will be to keep Aiden Hutchinson quiet first and foremost. If he isn't, then he could completely wreck our game, may completely wreck our quarterback if he gets to him too often. And on the offensive side, I think, like we were saying, with targeting our linebackers with Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think obviously if our linebackers aren't playing well, those two could have a massive day. So yeah, if we can keep those two quiet, that will also help. But yeah, it's going to be a really good game, I think, between two good teams. And yeah, do we want a score prediction?
Yes.
I mean, I would obviously say a Cardinals win, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm going to go 27-24 Detroit.
Okay, if the Cardinals did win, who's going to be the player that kind of gets that for you? Who's going to be the MVP of the day?
I think it'll have to be Kyler Murray again, because obviously he's the one throwing the ball around. And I mean, it could be Marvin Harrison catching the ball again. It could be Michael Wilson. It could be Greg Dortch. Could be anyone. Trey McBride could have a big day. But yeah, as long as Kyler Murray's playing well, he'll be the MVP every week, I think.
Fair. And what about you? What do you think the score's going to be?
I do fancy us by a score, so I would say something along the lines of 27-20. I reckon. On offense, we've got to stretch the field to allow our game to flourish. We've got to be much better. The play calling's got to be better, but we do have to open up our passing game. Because I can see that teams are starting to adapt to how we play, and this team is set up very well against the run to come up and stop us if we don't try anything different. If Ben stubbornly just tries to go ahead and do what he normally does in this, then we're going to have issues. So stretch the field, then get back to your bread and butter, and most importantly, execute when you're in the red zone. 1 of 7 is unacceptable, and it cannot happen again. And I know Dan says it might take time for them to get to where they need to be, but we don't have time because we've got a bye coming up and a really rotten run of fixtures after that, and we need to win games. Because we've got the Seahawks next week, who are as big a bogey team to us as we are to the Cardinals. So that's on offense. On defense, please, for the love of God, Aaron Glenn, play man coverage in this game and do not give Kyler easy outs. We've got to pressure him. The D-line can do what it needs to do. Shut this run game down. Go get him. And we cannot give him a get-out-of-jail card by allowing these tight ends to get free on easy routes. We can't allow Marvin Harrison Jr. to stretch us downfield. Like, these tight ends will destroy our zone coverage. I was watching some analysis on them earlier, and they're really good at exploiting those gaps. Like, the Rams tried to do it, and it just did not work one bit. So just quit the zone crap and carry on doing what you're doing on the D-line, and we'll be absolutely fine, and we should be able to win this. But both of our coordinators need to change from some stubbornly held views here, and hopefully they will.
Fingers crossed. For myself, I see no reason to deviate from my preseason prediction of a 10-point Lions win, which sounds like a lot, but I think it's going to come down to something that Ant was saying earlier about controlling the ball and the time of possession. I just think that we're going to be able to stop the run and we're going to be able to run the ball. And if that is true, then I think that we can control the game. I still think Murray's going to get his. I do think Ant's right that we're going to play more man coverage, but the problem with playing man coverage against a quarterback like Kyler Murray is that you've got DBs turning your back on him. So if he does escape contain, he's going to be getting chunk yardage, not like we've been seeing so far at 10 yards a carry or whatever he's been getting, but we're going to see him do it at proper chunks against the Lions if they do go man coverage. But I just don't think against players like Marvin Harrison Jr., they can afford to play in zone. I think they're going to see ourselves get torched if we play in zone. So I think they risk it with Kyler for staying a bit more solid in the backfield. So let's see what happens with that. I'm going to go 34-24, but with the Lions kind of keeping the cards at arm's reach, with Murray kind of leading a threatening-looking comeback late. All right, we have come to the end there with you, Tom. We're going to talk about the predictions for the rest of the weekend's upcoming games, but is there anything you want to shout out about the website, or not website, the link tree that you've got going, Facebook group, Twitter, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing really we use these days is the Twitter at British Bird Gang. So, if you like to hear anything more about the Cardinals from a British point of view, then follow us on there. Other than that, it's just what it is.
It's a really funny Twitter account. If you like listening to Ant or reading what Ant puts on our Twitter account, you're going to like what British Bird Gang put out there as well. So I do urge you to go and follow those guys. Tom, it's been great as always. Looking forward to seeing what happens in this game and hopefully seeing you again come draft time. But thanks very much for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on again.
Cheers, Tom.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, everybody, we are going to talk about the rest of the weekend's upcoming games, but I'm going to take a quick break here, so we're going to see you in just a couple of moments.
Recording stopped.
Oh, are we still live?
We're still live, but I've just pressed pause on the recording, and then it will mean less editing for me, but we're still live. I just thought I'd do that. It's kind of like what Pride of Detroit do with the segments, I guess. So.
Okay. Well, if you've got any questions, folks, I'm here. You can ask me right away. I am a very contained Lions fan grandizer out of this. I get very passionate about this team, and I get...
Yeah, you do.
See, I do, but I also do believe I have validity in what I say about like schemes and how we work this. It's... Again, like talking about the offense, I would love to just run the ball every game 30, 40 times and as dominate on people and be able to really play that way. But like you've seen what teams are doing to us in recent games. You bring the safeties up, you stack this box, you make it a bit more difficult for us to be able to do what we do best. And like we're taking a lot of shots when we are passing it through the air, like before the sticks. And teams are rallying to the ball, they're stopping us, and you can see the game plan. It's just give us a couple of yards on a run, we'll get an incomplete pass in there, you get to 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, we throw it 3 yards, they rally to the ball, 4th and 3rd, punt. And it just feels kind of like we've been figured out a little bit in what we're doing. We are great at what we do, but, you look at teams like the Chiefs, the really, really good ones, like, you'll see them string together 3, 10, 15, 20-yard passes in a row, move the ball quickly downfield, get a team off its feet, and then they'll just put the ball in Isaac Pacheco's hands and let him go to town and really rush the ball down people's throats. And you've got to have the right balance to really scare teams. And I get what people in the comments saying, we've got a lot of yardage, etc., and we're doing well, but at the same point, we've got all that yardage and we're still not doing so well. We're coming unstuck when it comes to the red zone because of our play call, because of the way we're playing the games. Like we need to change it a little bit. We need to give people genuine belief that we're going to take shots and that we're going to be able to hit them downfield, and they're just not respecting us that way in the minute. And then on defense, again, like the way we're playing against the Bucs, we have the second play of the game, got the Bucs pinned right back in a 2nd and long, and you see Chris Godwin in 6 yards of space, nobody near him, like easy out for Baker Mayfield to make because they're just sat letting themselves be exploited in zone coverage. And you just saw it all game. It didn't happen all the time, but it happened in critical moments, which cost us that game eventually, even though the defense is playing well. And we've watched this now for 3 years. How many times when you're watching a TV screen, you see a quarterback wind to throw and you think he's throwing to a wide open receiver? And lo and behold, there's a receiver stood there, got less mates, he's Billy No Mates. Like, this has to change. You don't have to go completely away from it, but you have to at least be scheme specific in some. Because again, I'm coming to the Cardinals. I don't respect the depth in that wide receiver chart. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is good, but the rest of them are young and they're not anything you want to be unduly concerned about. And if you're coming up against playoff caliber teams, you're going to come up against much better wide receiver units than this. It's the tight ends that are dangerous, but you have got to go after their talisman. Can't give him the completions that LA gave him. And, it may come across as me being like, maybe he's whinging, but I'm very passionate about this because I've watched it for years and I want this team to do well. So that's where it comes with those things.
Yeah, the thing about zone coverage is that when you get it wrong, you get something like what happened with Terry and Arnold for the touchdown last week. Because my concern with zone coverage is that you just sit in their zone guarding fresh air and then react to a ball being thrown when the receiver's wide open. But when you actually do take a man, when the guy goes, I'll go and defend that guy, you find that you vacate your zone and someone else comes open free and just walks in for a touchdown. So you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't.
See, I find the best, if you're good at running zone, what you want, you want an experienced secondary who play with one another, who understand how each other plays, who have little cadences and things where they can pass up. They know how one another plays. Like in this country when it comes to soccer. I hate zonal marking when it comes to corners because people just pass off. The best teams that do it are the ones that communicate, are always talking to one another and are able to work it. When we've got a lot of new guys on this team, when we've got a lot of rookies on this team who are trying to adapt to the NFL as it is, like teams are taking advantage of the raw nature of our secondary. They're not experienced enough to run something like that yet, no matter what, Aaron Glenn wants to say about it. So for now, just let your rookies go out there, play ball, battle. And maybe when they've been together a year, then you start implementing this. But it's just quite obvious the communication and the leadership is not there right now. So you don't flog a dead horse and just keep doing it. You go, okay, we're still going to keep teaching this, but for now, we're going to change it and we're going to adapt to our situation until they're better at doing it. So,
especially considering it's what they were drafted to do. They were drafted to be man coverage corners, and they're not playing man coverage. What's the point?
Exactly. We all said that's when they were drafting these guys, you're like, okay, there's going to be a scheme change here. Because we come up against a lot of talented receivers, and, we've got to have somebody who, like, I look at Terrian and I go, in 2-3 years' time, I would see him matching up against any single receiver this league has to offer, and I would feel confident in him. Like, that's the kind of player he's going to be. When I see him sat around and, he's just sat there waiting, it's not who he is. It's not who Brian Branch is. These guys are instinctive. They want to make plays on the ball. They're sticky. It's like, I'd bring Branch up into this. I'd bring him right up into the box and play him in there, get him on some of these Titans. Like, this will be a big game for Brian Branch. I want him to come up and shut down the middle of that field so these Titans don't have a go at us. But, like, man, please, just Aaron, please change it. You've got to see this. And it could cost you your job if you carry on going this way. So I just want to see something different. So I don't want to see us keep getting picked apart the way we do all the time.
Yeah. All right. Shall I start the recording again and we'll do pick watch?
Grandad's is asking us about player of the game to win and why. I feel like we should do that for him. So we could do that first.
Okay. Lions player of the game. So I said 34-24.
Well, we can do it on the recorded, can't we?
Okay.
I just thought we'd do it as a recorded question thingy, so.
All right, here we go. I'm going to press play, and then I'm going to wait for a few seconds so I know when to cut this together, because I think a little bit of what you said just came in at the end of the previous bit. So give me 2 seconds and I'll start speaking.
Recording in progress.
Banana.
Welcome back to the Rural Lions UK podcast. We have a question in from Grandizer saying, Ant and Matthew, Lions player of the game in the win and why? What do you think, Ant?
Ugh. No. See, this for me, player of the game would be Monty. Like, we want to control the clock. We want to, like, we didn't use Monty enough against the Bucks. I feel like Monty's the key to everything working perfectly. And if we get him going and, like, say, if we can get him into these linebackers, we can get this soft center exposed, I think he's going to get some really good yards. And it's going to be about the offense in this. So Monty's my player of the game if we win. I think he's gonna have a big one. This game was designed for him. These are a tough nut to break in the run game, so we send our nut buster towards them.
Boringly, it's the same player for me as well. I mean, it just feels like we need to batter them to win this game, and if we do in the trenches, Monty's going to be the guy getting those hard yards and moving the chains, and we've got to win time of possession in this game and force Murray to have to kind of force the issue a bit. We only do that by controlling the lines of scrimmage and by having Monty have a good day. So he's my guy. I underrated would like to see Tim Patrick have a really good day because I feel like wide receiver blocking is going to be a big thing. I don't even know if he's going to be elevated at this point, to be honest. Sam Laporta as well, someone who's been held back the last couple of weeks by the Lions by their own admittance. They didn't want him to be a big part of the game plan because of the injury that he suffered in the offseason. They wanted to intro him back slowly, so he's been mainly in as a blocker. Although I'd rather have just played Brock Wright if there was any worries about Sam. If Sam can have a big day, I think that'll be a big thing. I mean, when it comes to the Cardinals, they are much better ranked in their outside linebackers and their 3-down linemen than they are their inside linebackers. So kind of potentially weak underbelly, passing over the middle, what we're good at should actually be a little bit of an advantage here. So I can see it being an Amon-Ra St. Brown kind of day, but if it can be Sam, then I think that would be a big, big thing for our offense to win this game.
I agree. If I do a defense one, I would say this is actually a perfect game for Jack Campbell because they play 3 tight end sets. We're going to need his coverage ability against some of these more dangerous guys to not give the easy out to Kyler Murray. In week 1 against the Bills got shredded by the tight ends. Like he just kept throwing to them continually to get past their D-line. Throw to the tight end who's just leaking out. We need that. We need our middle of the field to be good because we just don't want to give these easy completions away. We want him to have to throw moon balls to Marvin Harrison because then we can go and pick them off when we're playing man coverage. But this feels like the kind of game we drafted Jack Campbell for. I mean, obviously we drafted him for every game, but I feel like he can be the difference maker in this, and he slowly and surely is growing in confidence every week. And like these tight ends, I feel good that he'd be matched up. I would love to see him a few battles against Trey McBride.
I do think as well that hopefully Alex Anzalone goes, because one of the things that's been really impressive with him is his ability to kind of sniff out those screens, to see the direction of the runs where they're coming, and also to get those tackles for loss or sacks on a quarterback. I think he just sees the game so well. And if you have a look at what Murray might do to us, it's going to be linebackers like Anzalone and like Campbell, who really could affect the game in stopping Murray getting away. Those guys both have to have good games if we're going to pull out the win here, because, I mean, Murray could win the game by himself. There's no way about it. If Murray decides he's going to run for first downs, everybody play, what can we do? You know, teams still haven't worked out how to play dual threat quarterbacks, proper dual threat quarterbacks. And when it comes to dual threat,
we have.
Have we?
I mean, against Kyler Murray, yes. The thing is, when we've, like, in these last few years, the Cardinals have had a subpar offensive line. I would call it subpar anyhow for quite some time now. It's never been the best. Kyler is renowned for his scrambling because he has to scramble so much. But the good thing about that is that as a result, we've been able to sort of cave in and not really give him the room to go after. And it generally is the game, because I'm pretty sure the last time we played him, Barnes had a really good game, like one of his best games, because we were just sending him after him. I know Aaron Glenn hates using the quarterback spy, but that's the reason you getting drafted Derek Barnes, to be that kind of guy to go and get him. I feel we've always had his number, and I don't worry about their line's ability to protect him. So, like, there's a reason. Our 3-13-1 team demolished these guys at home and kept him quiet for the most part. That was the bad team. The year after, we beat them quite convincingly as well. So, again, I love Kyler Murray. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but I think it's the team around him allows us to be able to corral him in a way where he's not damaging as much as other guys are. It's just always been one of those little quirks.
Fair. Okay, right, let's transition into talking About the rest of the week's slate. Obviously, we've had one game already. Ordinarily, we would have recorded by then, but we didn't. I'll tell you now that I picked a Jets win, but unfortunately for me, I picked the Pats on the spread +6. What were your picks in this game?
Oh man, what were you doing? I had the Jets to win this one outright and cover the spread for it. Just Pats have been all right, but you could kind of see in this game that the Jets really had a point to prove, and I mean they look good. I got my man Brees Hall in fantasy, did all right for me, 16 points nearly. So, but I covered this one fine. I didn't really think the Patriots were going to threaten in this. They're going to transition to Drake soon by the looks of it. So I give it another month and we'll be seeing him a bit more. But their offensive line is cheeks, man. What did he give up? 8 sacks. They're like 1 sack where, Brissett's got like a guy on every side of him. It's just like they came together and gang pressed him. It's like, that's not good. So, yeah, I got that one right.
All right, let's look at the 1 o'clock slate on Sunday. First up, Giants at Browns. The Browns are big favourites in this game. 6.5-point spread. What do you think?
But playing the Giants.
It's Giants at Browns, yeah.
I've picked the Giants for the upset in this. Don't look at me like that. I picked the Falcons to beat the Eagles this week, and you went, "Oh no, that's never going to happen." I've got me. I did good. I had 2 big upset ones last week, so I just don't believe the Browns are a very good football team, and I believe the Giants are a little bit better than they give it on. Like this smacks of a trap game for them. I think Jones played a bit better last week. Like the offense looks like it's finally starting to get it together a bit. They're running the ball a bit better. The defense can get a lot of pressure, and Deshaun Watson's just useless. Like I fancy that New York D line to get at him, force turnovers, maybe some strip sacks in there, just be able to give New York short fields and be able to score enough points to win it. But I think this is a massive trap game for the Browns. I do fancy the Giants to sneak one here.
I have the Browns to win and cover comfortably. I think that they'll probably win by 2 scores plus. I don't think much of Deshaun Watson, but he showed a little bit more life last week. I think the Giants are one of the worst teams in football. I think they look absolute dog on both sides of the ball. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Giants score less than 10 in this game. Just the Browns' defense is so damn good. So let's see. Anyway, next up is the Bears at the Colts. Colts at home are favoured by 1 in a battle of 0-2 sides. What do you think?
Colts to win and cover. I know everyone's saying this is the wrong game. Like I've put Swift in my fantasy team this week because
sorry, Bears are 1-1. Sorry, not 0-2. My mistake. Sorry.
I was about to say, that didn't sound right. But everyone's saying the Bears' rushing attack's going to absolutely smith apart the Colts, which is my reason why I picked the Packers to beat the Colts last week when you had the Colts to win. I said with a dual threat quarterback, they were going to run on them, and they did, and they beat them. So, but I'm going sort of reverse logic here because that Bears offensive line is absolutely atrocious. Nate Davis has given up on life. The rest of them are useless. And, the Colts pass rush, they're better at rushing the passer than they are stopping the run. But I don't think much of this Bears team. The Colts offense is looking good. I think Richardson's getting better as he goes along as well. I think it might be a high scorer, but I do fancy the Colts to win this because that Bears O-line is just absolutely abysmal. Maybe Caleb Williams will get a touchdown pass this week. He's not got one yet. Who knows? The longer it goes on, but yeah, Colts gonna win and cover here.
This is a battle between 2 teams who are really going to struggle to score. I have the Colts winning and covering the 1. I mean, you can't pick them to win and not have them cover the bloody point, can you? The over-under is 43.5, which I think is exceptionally high. I would be surprised to see this go over 35 points. I think this is
because the Colts can't defend the run, so the Bears can run it down the field quick, and Anthony Richardson's going to torch them. So I just think you're going to see a back forward affair really quickly.
Maybe, but if you're running the ball, that does slow down things as opposed to passing the ball and the clock keeps running. I don't know. 17-10 seems about right for me. 17-13, that sort of thing. I don't know. Anyway, next up is Houston Texans at the Minnesota Vikings in a battle of two unbeaten teams. And who do you have? It is a, sorry, I should say it's a 1.5 point spread in favour of the Texans away.
What's the over-under for this?
Over-under for Texans Minnesota is 46.
See, this is really tough because I've got to, like, the Vikings have earned respect at this point. Like, I trashed all over them over the offseason, and a lot of people did, but you have to respect that team. They've played very well, and the Vikings are at home, yes. It's always very hard to go there and win. That said, the Texans do look very good so far. Like, they're not suffering a sophomore hangover so far. So this is really tough. I think this is going to be certainly a one-score game. This has the feel of a walk-off to it, maybe. And I have no idea here, so I am literally just guessing this. But I would say the Texans just feel like they're going to snatch this one for me. They are on paper a better team, and I think the Vikings are going to lose one eventually, but I respect them as a team now, so I think it's going to be a really good game. The Texans just sneak it.
Texans to win and cover by 2 scores.
Ouch.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like one of those games where the Vikings have earned respect, and I think that brings in the spread a bit closer to where it should be. But the Texans are, for me, a Super Bowl candidate, and the Vikings will be lucky to get the 7th seed. It's just where I feel like the two teams are at right now. So, I don't know. CJ Stroud is the absolute man, and like it or not, Sam Darnold is a quarterback in Minnesota, and I don't care how good he looks, and how much I said I believe there's still an NFL quarterback in there. I still don't think he's like a really good NFL quarterback. So, whatever.
I tell you what, if they beat the Texans, then we're in a lot of bother. If you beat the 49ers and the Texans, then all those predictions about them finishing fourth are it's going to be the Bears finishing fourth again. So
I think we can safely make that prediction now, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the Vikings. Bears have a really good defense, but they forgot to invest in the one position that matters, which is their offensive line. You can put all the money in the world into your defense, but when it's out there for God knows how long a game, it's just going to concede points. And that's what's going to keep Caleb back this year.
All right, next up is the Philadelphia Eagles at the New Orleans Saints in maybe the most surprising line from preseason to now. This is a 2.5 point spread in favour of the Saints. And I know that you were maybe not the biggest fan of the Saints coming into this season, and people wanted to say that the Eagles were going to win the NFC East over the Cowboys. But so far this year, one team looks like an NFC leader, and one team looks like an NFC pretender, and that's the other way around to how we expected. How do you see this game?
See, this is incredibly tough because I don't like the Saints, but I didn't particularly like the Eagles either. And unfortunately, when I make a bold prediction, it turns into a bit of a grudge because I need it to happen. Like, it happens in college all the time. Like, I was waiting for Ohio State to lose last year because I just knew they were a fraudulent team who were just not worth anything. And eventually Michigan beat the brakes off them. And I sometimes just have to wait to get my dues. So I don't like the Eagles, but I'm going to pick the Eagles to win this and cover the spread because I do still believe at heart the Saints are not that good. But, this is a grudge thing at this point, and it will probably make me look really silly.
The over-under on this game is 49.5. I think the Saints could do that by themselves, to be honest, the way they're going at the moment. I look forward to being live during this going, well, the Saints have scored again.
You know what? Hot take, Reed Blankenship picks 6 to win it for the Eagles because he's my guy. He's my dude.
I think the Eagles are falling apart. I don't see anything which says that they have changed from the team that they were at the back end of last season, where they lost 5 in their last 6.
They're not Dolphins falling apart, but they're getting there.
Another,
Again, I don't feel comfortable with either. This is personal prejudice at this point.
I have the Saints winning and covering 2.5, but it will be a close game one way or the other. But I still think Derek Carr will look good in this game until otherwise shown. I think he looks like one of the better NFC quarterbacks this season. So fair play to him for bringing it these first couple of games, because I think a lot of people were giving up on him actually after last year.
I will never ever hold it against a quarterback like having a renaissance. Like Jared Goff's the perfect example. We give up on quarterbacks far too easy these days. Too many of them are thrown on the scrap heap and forgotten about. And, like with Goff's resurgence, with Mayfield's resurgence, and I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen with Bryce Young. The Panthers regret drafting him and all the capital they gave up to draft him. They're going to regret even more when he turns out good for another team who actually treats him with a little bit of respect and treats him like a human being, not a piece of cannon fodder they can go and blame every time something goes wrong. So I will never bemoan a quarterback having a renaissance and getting his dues. Like, hopefully it will teach some of these teams in the league to stick with them through good and bad, because just maybe they're actually a good player and it's you, the team, that's the problem.
Talking about quarterbacks that have been dumped by their team and could have a renaissance elsewhere, next up is Chargers at Steelers. Steelers are 2.5 point favourites for this one. Justin Fields, I presume, looks like he's going to get the start. I've not heard otherwise on the grapevine. I'm presuming Russ is probably back fit at this point, but God knows. No?
He's not.
What is wrong with that man? Anyway, 2.5 point spread in favour of the Steelers at home. What do you think?
Steelers are my guys. I love the Steelers. I love the drafts. They just keep picking players that I love. They are vicariously, I think, my second team in the NFL. I would never have a second team, but
they're your AFC team.
They're my AFC team, like, just because I love the way that they think like me when they draft, and I will appreciate a team that does that. And they've not done me wrong so far. I've been on the Steelers bandwagon, and I will stay on the Steelers bandwagon. They are a very tough team, and the Chargers don't like to play teams that kick them in the face and play hard. Like they're a pretty team. I know they've got Harbaugh there now, and they're changing that assertion, but I'm going to roll with the Steelers. They're my guys.
I have been wrong about the Steelers. You have been right. I'm on the Steelers train. Win and cover against the Chargers. I do like what the Chargers are doing. I do think they look much improved with Harbaugh, but Steelers are rolling. And frankly, they need to have a bit more respect on their name, because I know that maybe the quarterback isn't firing like they should be, but they've got the offensive line. They've got the total defense, and that can win a lot of games in this league. So maybe they will be the power to face in that AFC North in a complete surprise, because Baltimore have not started well. The Bengals have not started well. It's a mad division in football.
So is it not currently Steelers, Browns, Bengals, Ravens, like the exact inverse of what people would have predicted it to be at the start of the year? I'm pretty sure it's
that. Yeah, it is. It is.
Like, the Bengals look terrible, which is good for us because Trey Hendrickson's going on the trade market. And, the Ravens is just funny at this point. They got a hard one this week. I guess we'll get into them soon, but they could be 0-3, man.
It could be. It could be. All right. Next up is the Denver Broncos at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
We got a Denver fan in the chat, so be nice on this one.
Well, the spread isn't particularly comfortable. It's a 6.5 point line in favour of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, coming off a marquee victory in Detroit.
Are they playing at Raymond James or Mile High?
Raymond James, 6.5 point spread. I do think the Broncos potentially have been better than expected, and I think Bo Nix has looked better than expected potentially, but they still haven't looked great. What do you think?
Oh, see, this is tough. Like, Bo Nix looks like a rookie. Like, I think, have any of the rookie QBs thrown a touchdown pass yet? Caleb hasn't. Bo Nix hasn't.
No.
Drake May hasn't because he's not playing. So, but he's getting the yardage. He's just making some boneheaded plays at the moment. Like the interceptions are, but he's a rookie. Like, I can look entirely past that. I think he's been better than I thought he'd be.
Yeah, me too.
And, they're going to be better for him. But I think they have struggled running the ball a lot. They did against the Steelers, but the Steelers have one of the best lines in the league. But I'm pretty sure Bo Nix has been their leading rusher in both games. So that's not good. And he's not getting many yards either. Like Javonte Williams, they're not getting the push. Your game's becoming too predictable. Like, you can't run the ball, so you're having to get your rookie to throw it all the time, and he's getting picked off. Recipe for disaster. The Bucs, we've seen what they did to us. They don't let you run the ball very well, and then they force you into mistakes, which the secondary then eat up. So this feels like a Bucs game that the Bucs will win this game. Not because I don't like Denver, but I just don't think when you can't run the football on this Bucs team, you're in a whole world of trouble. And Nix is struggling so far. But I do fancy him to get a touchdown pass in this game. I hope he does. But yeah.
I was laughing during what you were saying because I happened to go on ESPN and have a look at Bo Nix, and they have a feature called projected stats. And their projected stats is just literally what have they done, and let's have a look at that. Extend that out through 17 games. So Bo Nix at the moment has a regular season record of 46 completions on 77 attempts for 384 yards, no touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So Bo Nix is projected to have 391 completions on the year, almost 3,300 yards, but he's going to have no touchdowns and 34 picks. Thank you, ESPN. Well done. You're doing a great job. Tampa to win and cover. It's going to be a pretty rough game for Denver, to be honest, because as plucky as Denver are, Tampa are ruthless as a team, and it just makes me sad. Really,
we're going to be seeing them in the playoffs again. I feel like this thing with Tampa's not over yet.
The closest battle so far in the entire NFL, the division winner, is going to be the Saints and the Buccaneers.
Not even close. Not even close. The Bucs are going to absolutely marmalize the Saints. Absolutely marmalize them.
Not so fast, my friend.
Oh, what are we on College Game Day now?
Oh, I'm glad he recognised it. That's good, that.
I host a college football podcast. You don't think I watch College Game Day?
Of course I do, but the fact that I managed to embody the spirit of just, means it was a good impression.
He's got the bobble hat thing that goes, not so fast, my friend. Not so fast, my friend.
Yeah, well, okay, all I'm saying is I know my impressions are bad, and therefore if you know who it is, then I've done well. So
we need to do that now. Just get caps and start doing these with caps. Like, just doing these prediction shows. Who have you got today? Just ding, caps on. Like that. That's who we're going with. Just do.
Or do it like they do on the NFL game day morning, where they have the lone wolf. Apart from because it's two of us, we're both lone wolves every time.
Unfortunately, we won't have Pat McAfee singing a fight song and then picking the other team like the utter troll that he is, which is glorious.
It's still the most beautiful thing I've almost ever seen. I think that was picking Alabama singing the Georgia song.
But he'd sung the Georgia fight song in Athens and then picked Alabama.
Amazing. Right, yes.
He is level 10 troll, and I love it.
He is. Right. Tampa winning cover. Next up is the Green Bay Packers at the Tennessee Titans. And tell me this line makes sense somehow, because I just don't see it. At Tennessee are favoured in this game by 2.5 points. Who have you got?
Packers are going to level them. I don't know why Tennessee are favourites for that game. It's purely home advantage, but I've seen enough from this pack, and I feel dirty because I'm predicting Packers wins every week, which I don't want to do. But at the same time, I do have a level of respect for the Packers because they're a team that knows how to win, and you've seen what they can do. Like Malik Willis, if you let him run, the offense is going to change, the chains are going to move, and that defense is going to level Will Levis. Are they going to force him into mistakes? He looks awful. They're probably going to have a quarterback change through this. It's all going to go to pot. Tennessee's just not had offense in years outside of Derrick Henry, and they don't even have Derrick Henry anymore. So, like, Packers win, Packers cover. I don't see any chance of an upset in this one. Not even close.
Well, this is an upset because you're picking the Packers.
Technically, yeah, but I just don't see any chance the Titans win this game unless they force Malik Willis to throw the ball 50 times. Then they might win it. But Josh Jacobs he's been grinding out the yards, man, and the offensive line is always good.
So, unlike you who make a take and then you have to have it happen, otherwise bad things will happen, I'm able to learn from my mistakes, and I will hold my hand up and solemnly swear that with the Tennessee Titans I've made a mistake. They're just not the team that I hoped they would be. Packers to win and cover, well, but they're going to win straight up, so they don't need to cover 2.5. I think you're right. I think the thing about Tennessee is they've started hot in both games that they've had so far, and then they've fallen away in the second half. If the Titans can get out to a lead, will Willis be able to man the ship that leads a comeback? That's the only question I have about this game, but that's the only way I see the Titans winning. If the Packers get out to a lead, I don't see this going anywhere the way, and if it ends up being pretty even, I think that the Green Bay are the most likely team to win the game. So in about 90% of cases, I like the Packers here, and so I'm taking the Packers overall.
Grandaz, I just want to say no comment to my Will Levis pre-draft analysis. No comment.
Anyway, moving on. I can't remember what I said about him other than I thought he was more of a Burger King employee.
So I believed that Will Levis should have been Matthew Stafford's natural successor here, and we should have drafted him to take over from Stafford. That was my take at the time.
Whereas
I don't know. I didn't say we should draft him, but I said if. I think it was because it was his last year before all the stuff went off. Like, if we were going to pick any of the quarterbacks from that class to sit and learn behind Matthew Stafford, I will pick Will Levis, because I still believe, again, there is a good football player. Will Levis has been like, a lot of these quarterbacks have just been so badly handled. Like, Christ, who was the old Miss one who went to Seattle? He's the poster child for all this. I can't. Oh my God, he must have. Ryan would know because he absolutely loved him. Anywho, there have been a lot of quarterbacks who've been youngsters who've been badly managed, and it's just, I do believe that he would have been, I think he would have been perfect because he's a tough guy who takes a lot of hits. Like, he was like a mini Stafford to me. I think that was my thing with him. He would have flourished with Matthew as a mentor.
Matt Corral?
Yes, Matt Corral. Yes, you're right. Matt Corral didn't get a fair shot at it either. I know he was injured just before the draft, but he kind of got. He went
to the Panthers first, and then they cut him, and then he went to the Seahawks afterwards.
Yeah, they did him dirty. So, like, a lot of these quarterbacks have been done dirty. Like, it's too late for Levis now, but if he'd have been developed right, there would have been a good quarterback in there.
I don't think it's too late for him. I think that the fact that he's a starter at this point in his career, given what happened in the draft process, is a testament to how well he played last year. The problem is he doesn't fit with the head coach and the offensive coordinator at the team he's currently playing. So I think
they are a terrible team. Like, I'm just going to put that. They are a terrible team who have not cared about offense for a long time. Because they've just had a bulldozer to do it all for them, and they're not dimensional. I said this when they had Derrick Henry. They've just made no effort to be a serious football team in a while.
I do agree with your take about him being Matthew Stafford light in a way. And so if he was traded to the Rams after he loses the job here to take over the backup job from Stetson Bennett, I think that would be a win for everybody.
Sam Howell also did get screwed, Grandizer. You're right. Sam Howell also got screwed.
Yep.
I loved Sam Howell going through the process, and he's been buggered.
I mean, he played quite well last year, Sam Howell.
Like, these guys would be so good if they had a vet to sit behind, not just be thrown in. Like Ridder. Ridder was always going to be a couple-of-year guy to sit and then develop for your team. Even if it's going to be 26, 27, he's in, no one cares. As long as he's in right and he's developed right. That's why I'm just I'm not a fan of throwing these guys in right away. I don't think Caleb should be playing for Chicago. I really don't. Like, he should be sat learning, getting ready to take over that team. Because right now he's not learning anything other than how to throw picks and get his ass handed to him every week. And that's exactly what happened to Justin Fields. All he learned was how to lose, how to get hurt, how to be under pressure all the time, and never had an opportunity. Oh, and then they pulled him for Andy Dalton randomly for no reason, which really messed with him as well. He should have started behind him in the first place. I get really worked up about all these rookie QBs. They're not bad. They are just treated completely
Mistreated, yeah,
wrongly.
absolutely. That's the end of the 1 o'clock slate. Now moving into the afternoon's games, we've got Panthers at Raiders. 6-point favourites to the Raiders at home. What do you think?
Raiders are going to win. Yeah, Dalton's in now, so screw the Panthers. I really am rooting for Bryce Young. If he was starting, I would call for an upset here. But yeah, screw him. May the Panthers have lots of misery inflicted upon them. And plus, I really love Antonio Pierce, as we said last week. So yeah, good for him. Go get him.
I have a Raiders win, but I have Panthers to cover 6. I think that Dalton's going to come in and just... I mean, it's not a point against Bryce. I've just said in the chat about Bryce. I think is going to go on to have a Geno Smith-like career where someone gives him a chance and he's going to show himself to be a good quarterback. But I think Dalton coming in now is going to give that offense at least a life. And it's not going to mean a win, but I think it's going to mean a boost to that team. It happens often when you change your quarterback. It just looks a little bit better. So Raiders win, Panthers cover. Next up is the beleaguered Miami Dolphins at the Seattle Seahawks. So the Miami Dolphins traveling all across the country to Lumen Stadium, and the Seattle Seahawks are favoured by 4.5. What do you think?
They're starting Skylar Thompson, right?
Correct.
See, Seattle have not been at their best so far, but I mean, there are too many good players on that Dolphins team. It feels like eventually they're going to stick a marker out somewhere and get a win. And again, I like Skylar Thompson. He's not been rushed into a role, but he looked bad in relief last week. Yeah, Seattle's going to win, but I don't see them covering. I think that's going to be a lot closer than people think. The Dolphins are going to take a stand eventually. Still think McDaniel's a fraud, but like they got too many good players. You get Devon A-Chain going, you start getting freaky with your offense, keep Skylar on his feet. He will do enough for you to be competitive in this game.
I think Seattle have looked bad enough that I'm calling it, like you, Seattle win, Miami cover. I think that seems to be the most likely thing, to be honest.
I feel like Skylar will throw a game-ending pick. Like they'll get like Seattle will get a touchdown with 2 minutes to go to take the lead, and then Miami will have to drive, and Skylar will just show his inexperience a little bit. They'll get him in third or long or something, and he'll throw a pick, and that'll be that.
I mean, the thing about Skylar is that Tua's been injured enough since Skylar was drafted.
He's got some good
went
game
undrafted
experience.
a year and a half ago. Yeah, that he's had some game experience, so he's not.
No,
it's too.
But Lumen's a hostile place to go, and it's very overawing, and so
12th man. Sorry.
No, that's the Aggies. They've leased that from that's the Texas A&M thing.
It's the worst thing ever. I'm sorry.
It's literally a leased trademark. So
I don't even understand. We've paid for the rights to have the 12th man, so we have the 12th man. Oh, fuck off, pricks. Anyway, next up is Lions at Cardinals. We've both picked the Lions, and I think both picked the Lions to cover the 3 points.
Is it still 3? I thought it would have. I would have thought that would have come in a bit more because it started at 6. But I think that's a fair representation. Cardinals need to prove themselves. Yeah, they've not done much for a while. So yeah, we cover. I say 7.
2 more games in this afternoon slate, and it starts off now with the Baltimore Ravens at the Dallas Cowboys. The beleaguered Dallas Cowboys facing the suffering Baltimore Ravens. This is a 1-point spread in favour of the away team, the Baltimore Ravens. And what do you think is going to happen here?
This is a rock and a hard place because I'm not the biggest fan of the Ravens, but I hate the Cowboys. But the Ravens could go 0-3. Like, we want these good teams to implode. Like, the Ravens, I said, were AFC heirs. Like, they were going to be the team that were going to step up to Kansas next. And I feel better in a world where the Ravens are a bad team losing games all the time and maybe they come apart a bit. But at the same time, I want the Cowboys to get their ass handed to them again. Is it at AT&T?
It is at AT&T.
And what's the spread?
1 point in favour of the Ravens.
Ooh. See, Dak's my fantasy quarterback, so I could do with this being like 40-34 or something like that and then getting a ton of points. The Cowboys haven't been great so far. Dak's not thrown a lot. Like in both games, he's been subpar so far. They looked bad last week. It kind of feels like they're on the.
I put score on that. He looked good in the Browns game.
It feels like their party is ending. It feels like even their regular season dominance is starting to come under threat now. The Ravens are too good to lose 3 in a row. I will say that. I think they are too good to lose 3 in a row. I've got the Ravens, and of course they're going to cover because it's a point, but I think it's going to be, again, incredibly close. I just don't see a world where the Ravens lose 3 in a row. So,
yeah, fair. I have the Cowboys. I mean, as much as we say we love the Raiders, and I do, I really like the Raiders. The Ravens lost to the fucking Raiders last week. Sorry, but the Raiders should not be competitive in the AFC, and the Ravens are 0-2, having just lost to them. So
I will not take that Antonio Pierce slander.
I didn't slander Antonio Pierce.
Yes, you did.
They don't have a quarterback, and they lost to a team that doesn't have a quarterback.
They've got Gardner Minshew.
Who are you talking about right now?
Just because you hate Gardner Minshew. Like this is you say
I don't even hate him, but he's the most average. He's a less than Dalton line quarterback. He's just the most meh of quarterbacks. He's a beautiful human being, but he's not a good NFL quarterback. He's just merely meh on a plate. Meh in a tin.
I can see the train of backhanded compliments going past here. Like when I have a grudge, I have the balls to stick to it and go all in. You just backhand him all the time. Gardner Minshew is a good quarterback in the NFL. I'm sorry, but like he's another who's been tossed from franchise to franchise willy-nilly and always seems to find his way. Like, you mark my words, 2 years, he's going through a Baker renaissance and people are feeling really stupid about themselves. So, no. I do not accept the theory that the Ravens losing against the Raiders is horrifically bad. I'm sorry, I do not.
Mile High in the chat has the best take of the day. He has said the Baltimore Ravens are the Florida State of the NFL. Win! Fucking win. Well done.
I am having nothing to do with this. I am having nothing to do with this. You can keep me out of this.
Yes, let's go.
You can keep me out. And he's a Denver fan, so he has interests in that conference. So there's going to be a biased view there.
There we go. Anyway.
They can't be the Florida State. Raiders have won a game. Oh shit! Here we go. Sorry, I said
Ravens, not Raiders.
Raiders. Oh, the Ravens. Oh,
Ravens.
Okay, that's fine.
Ravens are the Florida State. They're on the right side of the country.
Yeah, both equally disappointing, but they've got a good quarterback. The Seminoles don't. So.
Right, last game in the afternoon slate is the San Francisco 49ers at the LA Rams. This is a game that maybe when we were coming into it, we were thinking, 49ers may be the number one prospect in the NFC. Maybe it's the Lions, maybe it's the 49ers. Going to LA, who could be the upstart in that division? Maybe they could make a playoff run. Maybe they can even unseat the San Francisco 49ers. Well, The Rams have been completely decimated by injury and they're really struggling. The 49ers just lost to the fucking Vikings. 1-1 versus an 0-2 side. This game is 6.5-point favorites in favor of the away team, the 49ers. And who have you got here?
49ers, and they'll cover by 20 plus.
Yeah.
They're going to absolutely ruin the Rams. See, like, they're like us. When they get hit, then someone else, the next person in line, suffers. And they're going to take out all their rage and pent-up aggression about that one, and they're going to unleash it on the Rams. They're going to make that hurt. So that's not even going to be a close game. Like, it's going to be a home game for the 49ers. There will be more 49ers fans there than Rams fans. So you may as well be playing this in San Francisco, really.
Yeah, agreed. Right, Sunday Night Football is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Atlanta Falcons. Kansas City 3-point favourites here. The Falcons didn't look great, but pulled out a win last week. Kansas City Chiefs have looked up and down as well. What do you think?
You say Falcons didn't look great. I say Falcons made me look terrific. So, you know.
I didn't say they didn't.
Yeah, the Chiefs are going to absolutely annihilate them. Like, there's so much. Like, that Eagles team is fraudulent, as I've already said. But this Chiefs team is not. They look very good. They're running the ball well. Pacheco's hurt, though, but you've still got Carson Steele. You've still got Edwards-Helaire. They still look like they're running the ball pretty well. And Rashee Rice, although he should be in jail and is not, is performing very well, and Xavier Worthy has fit right into that system like a glove. So, and Carl Laftis, I mean, you know, just saying, you know, he looks awesome. Loved him. He's becoming every bit the player I thought he'd be. The Falcons are not going to hang with the Chiefs.
Shanks rightly points out that Pacheco broke his leg and they have no running game. They've confirmed that they're not going to elevate Kareem Hunt, who I believe has been signed to the practice squad, which leaves them with Samaji Perine as their lead running back, which is going to make this game a bit more interesting. Just before I give my take on this game, Chocobo Brisket Bowl on Twitch says that Minshew is the new Ryan Fitzpatrick, which is a very, very good take. That is exactly who he is.
And I would take that as a compliment.
I think it is. I would say that he's not as smart as Ryan Fitzpatrick, because we all know where Ryan Fitzpatrick graduated from. But
Miami Dolphins Ryan Fitzpatrick, I loved it. I thought he was well underappreciated when he was a Dolphin. Yeah, that was watching Fitzpatrick Dolphins was fun.
Yeah, Chiefs to win and cover against the Falcons away by 3. I just don't like the Falcons anymore. I even said that I thought they'd be in the NFC Championship game. I've gone from believer to doubter very, very quickly. And the thing is, if they lose this game, they're in trouble. They're in big trouble in that division, because Tampa and New Orleans look hot. So Falcons got to get on it. If they get too far behind, it's going to be a long way back for them. Double header in Monday Night Football, which is going to make it even more fun. Anyway, it's the Jags at the Bills, 5-point spread in favour of the Buffalo Bills. You love the Jags, so I only assume that you're going one way here.
Yeah, Jags upset.
What are you on about? Come on, man.
I'm sorry, you said exactly the same thing when I picked the Falcons at the Eagles last week. You're like, come on, man, and I got it right. The Jags are going to click, and the Bills just, no, I don't believe in the Bills. So, well, yeah, Jags are going to win.
I don't believe in the Bills either, but I do believe that the Jags are one of the worst teams in the NFL. And I'm going to continue doubling down on this point until you believe me. Bills win and cover. Both don't make the playoffs, but there we go. Final Monday Night Football game is the absolute thriller. Washington Commanders against the Cincinnati Bengals in a battle of two teams who have yet to get off the mark this season. Both 0-2. No, Commanders did win a game. Jesus, oh God. The game where they conceded 3 touchdowns and they won with field goals. How did I forget that game? Oh, the one-on-one Commanders against the 0-2 Bengals. This game is a 7.5 point spread in favor of Cincinnati. What do you think?
What? Who came up with that line? That's ridiculous. Lionel Richie's backup band to win, please.
I have the Bengals to win and cover. I think they'll cover 7.5. Washington have proven that they can't really score touchdowns, even against the Giants.
They've got a rookie quarterback, but
they still have a rookie quarterback going into this game.
Yes, but he's a rookie quarterback who looks good. He's running the ball well. He's getting touchdowns on the ground. It's coming.
Burrow's gonna wake up. If he does, this is a no-brainer.
Now we're on the Trey Hendrickson to Detroit train. Bengals losing this. That pushes it a lot closer to happening.
All right, that is every game in the slate this week. So I hope you enjoyed all of our takes there. And anything you want to get off your chest before we get out of here?
Yeah, I want to just address some of Grandizer's earlier comments. Did I ever call Tyreek Hill a fraud? I don't know if I did. I would have to go back and check.
Check the tape.
I don't think I did. I may have done, but
it doesn't sound like you.
I feel like that. Well, why would I say he's a fraud? I don't know.
I mean, especially when he was traded for 2 first-round picks, I don't think you would have said he was a fraud. I think you might have said he's maybe not worth that. But even then, he was so good back then.
I don't think he's fraudulent. Maybe I don't know. I am standard to be corrected. Also, remember how high I was on Skylar Thompson going into the draft? I'm pretty sure that was Ryan. I don't think I was that high on him.
I was quite high on him, and I'm pretty sure Ash was quite high. So you didn't like Skylar. Not that you didn't like Skylar. You preferred EJ Perry in the undrafted free agents of that era.
I did, and he's still knocking around somewhere. So
yeah, that's who I remember you liking. Me and Ash liked Skylar, and you liked EJ Perry. So
he's a good quarterback in college, but when a player goes to the Dolphins, Ant said he's a fraud. Well, maybe I did. Okay, that sounds more like if they go to the. I mean, I feel so glad that I get to use some TV, man. But when did the Dolphins last win a playoff game?
Oh,
we've had that for years and years and years.
Come on!
I was very nice. I liked that. I'm pretty sure I said that they have one of the better draft classes this year. I'm sure I did.
That's just mean. Why would he do that?
Did I? In fact, no, because they got chopped, didn't they? So I said Patrick Poole was a very good signing. I said Jalen Wright. Well, I was actually very nice. They got Mo Camara. They got Malik Washington. I liked Patrick Morris. I liked. So I was very nice. They're not all fraudulent when they go there. But
Brandeis very dutifully answered your question of when the last playoff win was.
Oh, really?
I don't think it was that long. Has it been 24 years?
Yeah, they've not won one this. They've won one this century, haven't they?
Christ. Well, technically 2000 isn't in this century. It's the last year of the
this millennium. This millennium.
No. Year 2000 was the last year of the second millennium.
I thought it was 2001 they won a playoff game last.
Oh, I guess maybe if it was the 2000 season, it would have been in 2001, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So it's been a while. I don't all say they're fraudulent. I think the head coach is fraudulent. I've said that much.
Fair.
Mike McDaniel is a Walmart Dan Campbell. He's rah, but he's not got. I just don't feel like he carries. He loves his players, but I don't feel like when the chips are down, they're a gritty team. I don't think he can install that in them.
I think he has been slightly let down with the work on the offensive line because with a quarterback like Tua, I'd want to protect him more, and they went all in on weapons, which works really well when they manage to keep Tua upright. But he's been hit so often that he's missed so much time that it kind of hasn't mattered.
It's what the Bears have just done. Like, they should have spent pick number 9 on an offensive lineman, but they didn't. They went and got a weapon when they got Keenan Allen, I know, injured, and DJ Moore. There was absolutely no need for you to go out and do that again, but they did. As for Tua, it's such a shame, man. I just wish people would get off his back about the retirement. They're like, the dude's hurt. Don't just go talking about his
Well,
career and his livelihood right after he gets hurt.
and the
Like,
thing is, there's absolutely no way he retires, not unless he's in a medically induced coma. If you have a look
yeah.
at rugby and about players who have suffered concussion after concussion, there was a famous Welsh player who was told after his 6th or 7th concussion that for his own safety he needs to retire. And he came back after that and said, but what else am I going to do with my life? I don't have any other skills. This is all I know what to do. Even if I die young, what else am I going to do with my life? And I feel like the same is true with NFL quarterbacks. And it is potentially that stark. I mean, yes, Tua's been paid now, but you can't just sit on your ass for the next 60 years of your life. He needs to play. And what else can he realistically do? And what else can Miami do? Like, they can't eat his dead cap. They can't claw it back because it'd be a really shitty thing to do. We know how that goes as Lions fans. It's not realistic.
No, I get you. It's I just feel like these conversations need to be sort of kept for a little while. Like just let the guy recover first, but they just that's all they're talking about on the TV all the time. It's just like give the man a bit of a break.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Been asked that question in the comment about 2 current Harvard players.
Address that afterwards. I'll give you time to think about it as we sign off. Okay, so just briefly, we dropped the college football show on YouTube yesterday. What did he talk about?
So the rebirth of the Pac-12. We did outside wide receiver prospects, because we've been getting asked about that. We came up with 5. And then it was just week 3 reviews, week 4 previews, all that stuff. A lot of good games at the weekend. So, and there's a lot of good ones coming up. So we went through quite a bit. So there's a lot to digest in there.
Absolutely. It was a very eventful week in college football, so do go and check the guys out. It was great. Main podcast is going to be live during the game on Sunday. We will kick off at 4:15 Eastern Time, and that is 9:15 in the UK. We will be live with our play-by-play and reactions all the way through until the final whistle, which we anticipate to be about 8:15 Eastern Time, which is about 1:15 a.m. in the UK. It's going to be a heck of a game one way or the other. Review show will then be Monday afternoon, 2:30 Eastern Time. We hope to see you there after another Lions victory. Our socials, Royal Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And the group for worldwide fans on Facebook is Detroit Lions Fans UK, One Pride Worldwide. I can see that there are some Brits going to the games, so hopefully you guys will see them either on Facebook or on Twitter. Hopefully they enjoy it. Otherwise, Ash's preview articles on the website, rotluk.com. Just remains for me to thank Anthony Fitzpatrick for going through this with me, and Tom from the British Bird Gang to break down the Arizona Cardinals game. Thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you to everyone in the chat. And a pleasure as always, buddy. We need to go 2-1. Come on, guys. Let's go Lions. One Pride.
One Pride.
Recording stopped.
Right. Harvard former or current Lions players.
I'm just trying to think who was Harvard. There's not many. Kyle Juszczyk went to Harvard, but he's not played for us. Did Anthony Ferkser play for us? The tight end.
Ferkser came to us on the practice squad last year.
Right, so that counts as... Does that count as former Lion?
I think he was elevated for a game, so he's technically played for us.
Okay, so one answer would be Ferkser.
Don't look at the chat. Don't look at the chat. Don't look at the chat. The answer's been given. Don't look at the chat.
I've not. I think... I'm going to say Ferkser's one.
Yep, that is one.
He is.
The other one is a current Lions player.
Current Lions player from Harvard.
Did not finish his college career at Harvard. He transferred.
This is the trouble. Yeah, this is the trouble. If they're not alumni, Well, technically they are.
Yeah, but he wasn't. I think he was a grad alum. He graduated from Harvard, moved as a post grad transfer to a team and did quite well, and then
Oh, I'm trying to think. I'm not. I don't know the second one. I,
he.
I
Okay, so if you're saying you don't know, he was signed to the active roster in week 1 from the practice squad, but then was waived after week 1 this year.
oh, Chris Smith from Harvard.
Chris Smith spent the first 3 years of his career at Harvard, I think, and then moved to Notre Dame for year 4.
I knew it was Notre Dame. I didn't realize he'd gone to Harvard before that. But
Yeah,
again,
first
this
3
is
seasons, yeah.
oh, okay, fair dues.
There we go.
See, Ivy League black guys are usually quite easy to stay across because there's not too many of them. Prime example, Andre Yoshevas is looking absolutely amazing right now. Ivy League guy from Princeton. Loved him a couple of years back at the Bengals. Bengals are using him well because Chase hasn't been fit or playing. I don't know. But Andre Yoshevas will be a good one in a few years. Princeton football players in the NFL. So
I feared that he was going to be all speeds to no skill, and I was just wrong about him, really.
he's very good outside wide receiver. Very strong, very tough. Just they did him right. He sort of had a year to sit and learn his craft. And he's got an insanely good wide receiver room to learn from, and obviously very good coaches. So yeah, he's an Ivy League player doing well.
Mm.
I would, yeah. Ivy League players who do well in the NFL is much tougher than Ivy League guys who've made it. Because I don't. Is Ferguson classified as a really good player? I think is he just dotted around or?
So for me, he was a very good tight end at the Titans, and he's just kind of fallen off a little bit.
Yeah. Obviously, Kyle Juszczyk's been amazing.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah. Thanks to Andrew Forbes. Shout out to you saying I usually catch the recordings after the fact. Time difference in the States. Keep doing what you do. Thank you for watching us after the fact, and thanks for catching us now. I know it's a little bit of a kinder time now in the US to watch our shows, so appreciate you very much. Grandizer has an HBCU question, but he said HCBU. I'm pretty sure you mean the same thing.
I've done that a billion times.
Saints cut Mark Evans II, offensive tackle guard. Would you bring him to the Lions to try out?
Arkansas Pine Bluff guard, yeah. I wanted him here the year before last. And the thing is, the Saints bought him back, so they see something in him. Because they got him as an undrafted guy. They bought him back. He's good. Where was it the game I watched? He had a really good game against Oklahoma State, which showed me that he could do it against better opposition. He comes from a good school as well. It comes to school in their offensive linemen. So Pine Bluff is it's a tough place to come from. They get a lot of twonkins there, but he stood out amongst the sea of mediocrity. So I would bring him in, but I don't know if we have room for him now because we have a lot of draft and developmental guys in the system. So
yeah, we do.
I'd certainly put him on our practice squad and give him time there. But I really liked him coming out year before last. So yeah, I would.
Same question from Grandizer regarding 3-4 outside linebackers, Sunday Arthur Anderson and Andrew Farmer.
Sonny, they didn't get drafted. Sonny not getting drafted was an absolute travesty. I don't know. I wouldn't lie. I don't know where he's at the minute.
I think they're both cut. I think they both are out
Andrew Farmer, not so much. Sonny is amazing. And if you go back and listen to our HBCU draft show from this year gone, Gerald saw him at Shrine Bowl. And he absolutely lit it up there to the point where all the scouts were raving about him. And he went and did it against some very good level tackle opposition. Like, he was one of the stars of the weekend. The fact he didn't get drafted was just crazy. Sonny, I would love to see Sonny here. But obviously the way we've screwed around with Houston, I don't know whether we'd make the most of his abilities. He's tall, he's lanky, he's strong. But I would absolutely give Sonny a go. I'd give Mark Evans a go. I'd give Sonny a go. Maybe not Andrew Farmer as much. Don't think he's got an NFL future, but Sonny sure as hell does. Someone's going to get, like, if a good D-line team picks him up and stashes him and develops him, in a couple of years, people will be going, what the hell did we miss here?
I hate to go against you, especially against HBCU prospects. I watched Sunday Arthur Anderson in the draft process, and I watched several games. I don't think he's an NFL player. I I just think that he has the pass rush skill. There's absolutely no doubt that he's speedy out there, but he's more James Houston than James Houston, if you know what I mean. Like, he's even smaller than James, and I don't see how he gets on the field. I don't see how you can play him anything other than a designated pass rusher role.
I mean, at the minute, he's an undrafted free agent for a few months.
Sure,
he's
but
not going to see the field.
But someone of his frame is going to carry something like maybe 215 pounds, 210 pounds. But I don't think you'll see him running around at 225, 230. And that's light for even a 3-4 outside linebacker. You know, like, he's not got the frame to carry the weight that I want to see in the NFL. I think he'd be a great player.
He's not a 3-4 outside linebacker. That's the problem. He's not a 3-4
well,
linebacker.
He's a defensive end.
Yeah.
But you can't have a 215-pound defensive end. It just doesn't happen in this league. Like, you know, when we say, and we mean it as an insult, that we think this person should play in the CFL or play in the XFL or UFL or whatever, I genuinely think he'll rip it up in the spring leagues. And I think that he should do that because I think that's his level. It just sucks, but
I think he'll get a shot eventually. You do go to the spring leagues first, and you work in the spring leagues. You get your weight up a little bit, but there's something there with him.
There was one other question for you, which was Carlton Wood saying, if Tim Patrick is elevated, do you see him having a bigger role this week than he had last week?
Yes, because he's a new player learning the system. So I would assume he will be more integrated into the system. It happens with a lot of new players. You'll bet them in, and then their usage will go up. But I guess it's interesting because eventually they can only elevate him so many times, so they'll have to put him on the active roster. Eventually, what is it? 4 call-ups, 3 call-ups? What's the limit now? Is it 4 elevations?
It's 3 elevations, and then you either have to be signed or cut.
Yeah.
Or no, not even signed. So you can stay on the practice squad all year, but you can't be elevated again.
Yeah, until you're given a contract. So,
but if they're cut and they pass through waivers, or they just are cut, you can then re-sign them back to the practice squad, and they have another 3.
Because I think almost his usage has to go, because surely you've got 1 elevation left after this. You want to be sure about him before you give him a roster spot. So, you know, it wouldn't make sense to elevate him and then not use him again. Because I don't see what like kind of 3 pointless elevations would really show them that would give them more clarity on him, if you get what I mean. I think you're going to have to bring him up, and you're really going to have to show his skill set. You're going to have to give him plenty of reps, especially if you want him on the outside, being that guy. You've got to get him involved in the run game, see if he can hold up the perimeter and the outside the tackle running stuff. And you want to see if he can be a contested catch guy on the edge. So I would almost think you have to use him more because he's got 1 more elevation left after this. So you need to see what you've got. Otherwise, it's pointless.
Yeah. There we go. Cardinals, this is Kennedy. Kennedy has been elevated twice so far. Not this week, because Isaiah Williams will be back. So,
yeah, Kennedy, they're just using the elevations, and then he'll revert back to practice squad. That's, you know, we can't use a 53-man roster spot on Tom Kennedy, unfortunately. He's been useful while Isaiah's been hurt.
Silly question. If the Panthers look to trade Bryce Young, should the Lions trade for him if the price tag is low, say a 3rd rounder? There's no way in hell Bryce Young is worth a 3rd rounder. I'm sorry. Like, the way that they've treated him, he's a pick swap right now. Or maybe he's like a 6th rounder or something. But even withstanding the price, do you think that the Lions should trade for Bryce Young?
No, because we've got Hendon for that role at the minute, so it'd be. I wouldn't do it. It's just not right. If we were looking for a genuine backup, potentially starter for the future, then yes, but we're not. So, I mean, like you say, a 3rd is a lot. I mean, you know, gun to your head, is there anyone on that team you trade a 3rd for right now?
Anyone on the Panthers?
Yeah. Is there
Oh.
anyone you'd trade a third for?
Let me just go and quickly look at their depth chart.
I mean, how old's Taylor Moton? In fact, I'd get Icky here for a third. I'd bring in Icky.
Oh yeah, he's worth more than that. I think he's looked fine.
I think Icky would be one of the few players I'd give up more than for.
Okay, so clearly Derek Brown is worth a first plus. JC Horn would be worth that. He'd be worth more than that, probably. I like Shaq Thompson very much, but we don't need another linebacker. I like Deontay Johnson enough or Adam Thielen enough that not as a third round pick, but if it was a day 3 pick, I would consider bringing either of them in as our wide receiver 3.
I mean, Derek Brown's ballsed for the year, isn't he? So you might want to be careful with that.
Well, is he done for the year?
Yeah, his knee's screwed up completely.
Oh, yeah, he is done for the year. Shit, okay, fine. My bad.
He's torn meniscus.
No one else. Robert Hunt's good, but they paid him like 100 mil plus.
Oh, God, yeah, his money is ridiculous. His money's ridiculous for a guy.
And the offensive line of Carolina looks much better. To be fair to them, it's just that Bryce is shot.
Taylor Moton's always been one of the better right tackles going.
Austin Corbett's fine.
Icky's good.
Icky's good.
Getting there.
And then they've got Damian Lewis and Chandler Zavala behind him, who I know that we were both high on. And they've got Josh Neiman behind all of that, and Brady Christensen. They've got starters and they've got depth on their offensive line now. It may not be amazing, but this is why I've picked the Panthers to cover this week, is because between Chuba Hubbard, Miles Sanders, Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, Jonathan Mingo, Xavier Legette, and then that offensive line, they're just lacking in tight ends, but Tommy Tremble's okay. Jatavian Sanders should be pretty good. That offense is fine. They should be able to score points with passable quarterback play.
See, Carlton's instigating here by saying Xavier Legette. We remember those arguments going into draft season. Stop poking the bear, Carlton. You know exactly how I feel about Xavier Legette.
Yeah, there we go. Right, is it time to get out of here?
I've not eaten today, and it is 11:20, so yeah, I could probably do with getting some food.
Go and do that. Right, everybody, amazing to be with you as always. Thanks for all the questions, especially after the show. Appreciate you all. See you on Sunday. Good luck, Lions. Have fun for college tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Yeah. Bye.